Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of racing in the one and only NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship Season 7, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles, our title sponsor for this season. That's right ladies and gentlemen, after missing the broadcast as of last Tuesday where we couldn't quite catch all the racing action live from circuit side, we are here today and taking a trip back in time to that round number 7 to 10 to bring you all the racing actions if it were live from a rather rainy and soggy Snetterton circuit in the county of Norfolk in the United Kingdom. Indeed, this is the first of two visits to the United Kingdom for the NXTCC this season, and whilst originally slated to be a visit to Alton Park initially, due to the sheer scale and volume of our grid with so many drivers taken to the grid throughout the season, we had to make a late switch from what was the Little Budworth circuit in Cheshire to the county of Norfolk, which was obliging and welcoming, and our drivers today will be taking on the Snetterton 300 Loud. A stalwart and regular of the British Touring Car Championship calendar, this is a circuit like no other when it comes to the combination of high-speed flow and an absolute barrage of corners. Mixing together via its 300 layout, both its outfield section and also its infield section, it is a circuit which spans almost 3 miles in length, making it one of the longest in the United Kingdom and one of the hardest to tackle consistently and reliably each and every lap. For with its array of the best part of 12 corners is a circuit where precision is required at the utmost, and get even the smallest of mistakes into your lap and you may find yourself under attack from your rivals behind as you go to the next corner. And with the circuit offering plenty of track width and the opportunity to go too wide at most not all corners, this is one of those circuits whereby mistakes are punished very heavily and battles come thick and thin throughout the entirety of the racing lap. Boys, we welcome you all to this post-round broadcast. So what exactly does that mean for the uninitiated? Well, you can imagine we're taking a look back at all the racing action from last Tuesday, as it is, of course, Monday the 23rd of September, and the race occurred on Tuesday the 17th of September. But here in the commentary booth, we do not know what happens in the practice session that's currently ongoing, the qualifying session that's upcoming, or the 3 races on the schedule. So therefore, it's completely raw and new to us here in the commentary booth, and it'll be the same or as close as possible to that for you guys and girls tuning in at home. And of course, we do ask that if you do know the results from all the races, or indeed the qualifying, you do avoid any potential spoilers in our respective chats in order to not give the game away for us here in the commentary booth, and most importantly the fans tuning in. But where are my manners? Let's welcome all of you tuning in via the broadcast, of which there are 3 media platforms available for you to tune for your viewing pleasure. You could be tuning in right now, of course, via the official 2 NXTGEN media platforms, including on YouTube at NXTGEN Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via youtube.com. Alternatively, you could be tuning in via Facebook at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook. And we of course have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. Now, who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, allow me to introduce myself as your mostly recovered commentator and broadcaster for this season. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit of the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now I'll be bringing you all your racing action over the course of this round, indeed the entirety of the season, and what a season it has been so far. And in terms of our schedule for today, times in British Summer Time, that's BST, we're Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. And as we can see, in just under 17 minutes time, we'll be heading into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration. All our drivers out there on a circuit that's not looking to dry anytime soon. Indeed, it could mean that qualifying is going to come down to being out there at the right time when the circuit is in the ideal conditions on those wet tyres. After that, we'll have our 3 races, kicking off with the first of our 3 sprint races, all 11 laps in duration, and the first of our races will be at 8:15, after which we'll take a brief breather before returning just before 9 o'clock to the build-up to race number 2, and then we'll rinse and repeat and do the same again, albeit with the all-important reverse grid draw in the run-up to race number 3, albeit we're talking a little bit about that reverse grid draw after race number 2 concludes and how the draw was done on the day, and what it meant for race number 3, which will be scheduled to get underway at 10:45. But it is a wet day here at Snetterton, and therefore it's going to be a challenging day for all of our drivers concerned. And as we start to make our way into the thick end of the championship campaign, well, let's take a look at that championship calendar in terms of what's passed so far and what still is lying in wait. And as we can see, we're now into round number 7. We are into the second half of the season. We started off, of course, all the way back on the 23rd of July at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. Open up our account there in Spain, and under the sultry Spanish sun, we saw plenty of battling action. The story then made its way to Germany for the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg's National A layout. On the 30th of July, there were many a loose bumper and rear end knocked off the cars, and either Hockenheimring, a circuit which always does see plenty of elbows out action. We then made our way to Japan for the first of 2 visits, and that was for the Fuji International Speedway. The Grand Prix layout of the circuit working on our drives on the 6th of August, and there was the interesting contrast between its extensive start-finish straight and its highly technical array of medium to high speed corners, along with its low speed exit to the circuit. And then we came to round number 4 and our first ever visit to the Charlotte Motor Speedway's Roval in the US of A, and on the 13th of August we got to see our drives roar around the state of North Carolina. It was an absolutely brilliant round of racing action because whilst the walls were thick and indeed they were close, for the most part our drives kept it out of the wall and we had 3 absolutely spectacular races. Then we wrapped up the first half of the season with our first ever, and indeed, let's put that out there, our first ever feature race round, our 1-hour feature special on the 20th of August, and that was at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And at the Grand Prix layout of the circuit we got to see Andy Fox make history in being the first driver to ever take a feature race win, and from the Pro-Am class as well. Then we had our mid-season break of 2 weeks, and we returned, last time it returned on the 10th of September in France to the Circuit de Magny-Cours. And we returned, of course, with the arrival of the availability of rain as part of our races on the iRacing simulator platform. And rain definitely was a key player in the racing down the Grand Prix circuit in France, in the fact that whilst we did have a qualifying session and a race number 1 that were predominantly in the dry, races 2 and 3 saw a mixture of rainy conditions, and indeed many a driver gambled on going with the dry slick tyre rather than the wet, and it came back to haunt them compared to those that opted for the wet. But it definitely served to shake up the racing, and we'll tell you the implications on the championships very shortly, as of course today we're taking a look back at all the action from the Snetterton 300 circuit on the 17th of September, and then we've got 3 rounds to go, including tomorrow evening the live broadcast of Circuit Side in Japan for our second and final visit to Japan for this season. The Suzuka International Racing Courses Grand Prix layout will welcome our drivers, and then in our penultimate round of racing on the 1st of October we'll make our way to the Grand Prix layout of the Brands Hatch circuit in the county of Kent in the United Kingdom. And then we bring it all to a close with a circuit that is no stranger to late title drama and championship drama with it, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, or Interlagos as it's known in short, and that'll be our season finale on the 8th of October in Brazil. But as we now come on to give you an update on the championship standings after 6 rounds of racing, we start off with the overall Drivers' Championship, and as we can see, Wojciech Swirydowicz is the man to beat, still defending champion and looking now to be on a formal course towards a second title. In the fact he has expanded his lead to the best part of what is 305 points over Benjamin McCluskey, and right now can anybody put a spur in the tail of Wojciech Swirydowicz's absolutely brilliant championship defence? Well, many would argue there is McCluskey who is the lead candidate to do so, albeit he's going to have to find a way to get a huge haul of points, and for Swirydowicz to have some misfortune if he wants to bring that gap down, given that drop scores will come into effect going into the season finale. And whilst those drop scores are yet to be applied, a 305 point gap is indicative of only one thing, and that is Swirydowicz is looking strong. Behind Benjamin McCluskey, Adam Delmont, who has been beset by misfortune recently, technical misfortune, has meant he's not been able to get as many points as he'd like on the board. At the end of the first half of the season, it was Adam Delmont who was the big name taking the fight to Swirydowicz, but he's fallen to P3, and right now could be falling further. With Mikey Doble moving into P4 on 491 points, over a single point ahead of Andrew Pike. And there's Lee Horn in P6 on 448, 8 clear, in fact 12 clear I should say, of Jamie Dory. And there's Andy Fox, who leads the primes in terms of that overall top 10. He's the leading prime in the overall championship standings of 423 points to 405 of Ben Altria. From the full Tilby Motorsport driver, Matthew Addy also in the hunt there. P10 currently for 377 points for NXTGEN with Sam Cage's UK. And he's only 7 clear of Gavin Gardner, who's found a way to spring back last time out in round number 6. And he'll be hoping for more of the same today in order to get himself back into the top 10 in what has been a struggling season in the first half in particular. Isaac Doble sits P12 on 354 points, the best point of 11 clear of Liam Silkstone. And it's Sam Van Olsen and Alex Meredith who complete your top 15. With Russell Fowler in P16, the Performance Link Esports driver has had some good fortunes over the course of the last couple of rounds, and we're looking to continue that momentum. And then Matthew Sheraton in P17 there, one of many of the Aztec Racing team who really seem to thrive in these changeable conditions. We saw that at Magny-Cours, and could we see plenty more from them today? Adam McNally sits P18 ahead of Jonathan Robrex, and then it's James Massersgow who completes your top 20. And from the 263 of the Aztec Racing driver, we come to the 263 of Tom Davidson, the Sim Racing Collective driver who right now is trying to batter his way into the top 20. Albeit metaphorically there, he's been one of the cleanest drivers on this grid, no doubt about it, but he's hot on the heels of the top 20 and wants to go even higher. Toby Prosser sits a point behind as Davidson finds himself in the Sim Racing Collective sandwich with Aztec Racing as the bread. And then Duncan Rise is in P23 ahead of Alan McCain, with Pedro Diaz in P25 down 218 points. And whilst he's joined mid-season, his impact has definitely been felt. Luis Pascucci for Valkyrie X-Types is P26 ahead of Reswap, with Nick Clemens, Joseph Doble and Michael Lees completing your top 30. And it's your leading AM driver of Matt Emmons on 137 points, only ahead of Harley Bicknell and Patrick Falconer based on result countback, but Emmons right now pushing the envelope as high as possible in a titanic AM Championship fight, which we'll come to shortly. Then Slamir Jaworski and none other than Valentin and Blair who complete your top 35, with Daniel Fritz P36 with some misfortune besetting him in the overall championship over the last couple of rounds. Then Dimitri Coulon, Mark Sykes, Marcel Fritsch and Jonathan Collins complete your top 40. Outside the top 40, let's not forget about Piotr Jegowski on 84 points, one ahead of Ian Manners, with Luke Jones P43 ahead of Mitchell West, and then Sam Bradley on 58 points there. He could be on a lot more points if misfortune had not found him over the last couple of rounds, but still for Bradley, he's keeping his head high and taking it each round as it comes. Mark Kent sits P46 as we say hello to him there in the YouTube chat. And then we have Sam Smith in P47 ahead of Roy Plummer, with Craig Tillotson and Dylan Mystery completing your top 50. To round out the standings, it's Costa Chance Continental, P51 ahead of Mike Kurtler. Then it's Josh Brown, Kevin Smith, Lewis Mason and Jake Pitt, who all have points to their name all the way through to P56. And yet to score for this season, Tom Delaney, Gabriel Yilmaz, Andrew Parkin and Andy Coleman. And then coming on to the Prime Championship standings, as we can see here, when we adjust the points for our Prime class drivers, Ben Altrier is still the man at the top, albeit his advantage has been massively slashed all the way down to 10 points over Matthew Addy. And Magny Core proved to be a frustrating hunting ground for the Full Tilt B Motorsport outfit, but can they find better days today on home soil? Well, Matthew Addy, also a home resident of the United Kingdom, we're looking to go on the attack here and look to take the lead with only 3 rounds to go after today, with Andy Fox, meanwhile, in the wings in P3 ahead of teammate Sam Van Olst, and the Goldwing Motorsport pair continue to rise up through the ranks. Keep your eyes out for Matthew Sheraton in P5 on 574 points. He's becoming a looming threat for this championship campaign. Russell Fowler falls to P6 on 533, still ahead of Liam Silkstone. And it's Alex Meredith, James Spencersgow and Alan McCain who complete your top 10. Outside the top 10, it's Duncan Moraes by a further 5 points for Goldwing Motorsport, but then he's got a sizable gap of 34 points to Toby Prosser, with Tom Davison, Nick Clemens and Michael Lees completing your top 15. Slamir Jaworski in P16, just ahead of Mark Sykes by 9 points. And it's Luke Jones, Pedro Diaz and Valentin and Blair who complete your top 20. Outside the top 20, let's not forget about them. You've got Harley Bicknell on 229 points, ahead of Ian Manners by the best part of 26 points at this time. Then Jake Pitt, Dimitri Kuhl and Sam Smith complete your run of P25. And to round out the standings, Piotr Jegowski and Andy Coleman, with Andrew Parkin at P28 and yet to score a point. And then coming to the AM Drivers' Championship, and here it could not be closer in terms of the top 5, albeit Daniel Fritz leading by 832 points to 737 on Matt Emmons. You may be thinking, well, this championship is looking to be going the way of the Australian. Well, yes, on paper you would argue that, but keep in mind these scores do not account for the drop score that will be applied going into the season finale, and when you do that, things are a lot closer. Add to this as well in the fact that we have seen the championship momentum swing back and forth, and it has been led earlier on this season by a much larger margin in the hands of both Daniel Fritz and also Sam Bradley. So right now it's anybody's guess who's going to be leading after today. Matt Emmons in P2 is only at the best part of 8 clear of Marcel Fritsch, with Mitchell West also in the wings there in P4 and a further 9 points behind is Sam Bradley. And it's that top 5 in particular everybody's got their eyes on for the simple fact this AM Championship title is definitely going all the way to the wire. Roy Plummer sits in P6 on 638 points, 48 clear of Jonathan Collins in their great little scrap for P6, and then Mark Kent on 541. Then there were more points on the board much earlier in the season, but he's been hit with misfortune practically every round, and we haven't been able to see the true championship performance of Mark Kent that we'd love to see, and we're hoping we could see some of that today. And Craig Tillotson and Costa Chance Continental complete your top 10. Lewis Mason sits P11 ahead of Dylan Mystery by 10 points, Josh Brown a further 4 behind. And it's Kurt Smith and Mike Kurtlow, Kevin Smith, I should say, and Mike Kurtlow complete your top 15. And yet to score any points for this season, Thomas Delaney and Gabriel Yilmaz. But let's come to our Teams Championship last but not least, and we can see defending champions NXTGEN Pink on 1,132 points, well, they are 130 clear of SO and NXTGEN Gold, but right now they're definitely not feeling safe for 130 points, and that's a single round that could turn it all upside down. Semper Racing continue to fight for P3 and the chase of the top two, and have a comfortable advantage of the best part of 130 points over Doble Sim Racing in P4. In the same case with NXTGEN, round off your top 5 only a further 29 behind. Goldwyn Motorsport are knocking on the door of the top 5 on 729 points, a bit ahead of Aztec Racing. And then JW Motorsport sit P8 in their ongoing fight versus Valkyrie Excite, and the Sim Racing Collective complete your top 10. Outside the top 10 from the 457 points of the Sim Racing Collective, you do have the 407 of Whiskey Runners Racing. Then Full Tilt Motorsport are right on their coattails at 378 points, and they're only a point themselves ahead of iRacing Esports. Fortunately, Esports and Verona Motorsport complete your top 15, with WS Racing Esports in P16 ahead of Mitch West Performance. Next, NXTGEN Red, 287 Motorsport, and the Privateer outfit there in P20, completing at the championship standings. But coming for our championship, and well, we're giving you the update, and now let's come on to our circuit for today. And of course, it is the one and only 300 layout of the Snetterton circuit in the United Kingdom. Located in the village of Snetterton in the county of Norfolk, this circuit has gone through many an evolution over the course of its extensive history, having been the site originally of a Royal Air Force military base, and the old runways and its very flat racing surface have made it an absolute favourite with drivers and fans alike. For as the drivers roar their way around here over the course of the 2.98 miles, they'll find what it lacks in elevation change it makes up for in terms of variety, and indeed you'll feel that as soon as you make your way down the start finish straight, or up it I should say, from the lowest point of the circuit at Murray's Corner into one of the highest points at Riches at turn number 1. There, the fast right double apex corner, we'll see our drivers carry as much speed as possible as they make their way out into Wilson Hairpin at turn number 2, previously known as Montreal, and then renamed in honour of Justin Wilson, who is unfortunately no longer with us as of 2016, if my memory serves me correctly. But as the drivers make their way into the Wilson Hairpin, it'll be hard on the brakes to the lowest speed corner of the circuit, and that's where we could see 2, perhaps even 3 wide. Coming out of Wilson, it's then the run to Palmer Corner, and through left-hander at turn number 3, a late apex as much as possible, before they head up towards the infield hairpin of Agostini. There, again, 2-3 wide's not uncommon, but they'll have to sort it out quick as it's a short run to Hamilton Corner at 5, before they make their way into the double right of Oggies at turns 6 and 7. Exiting out of 7 is a short run to Williams Corner at turn number 8, but a critical run through the corner, and if you get it absolutely right, you'll carry all the speed you need down the Bentley back straight and heading up towards Brundle Nelson. That's where things get tricky, because our drivers will choose to battle into Brundle, there's no doubt about it, but only one can make the way into Nelson when they go too wide, and that sweeping left-hander followed up by the sharp right-angled right-hander is all about trail braking at the essence. Come out to Nelson okay, they'll make the way into Bombhole Corner at turn number 11 through the major depression, but as they launch their way out, it's through the extensive right-hander of Coram Corner at turn number 12 and into Murray's at turn number 13, the left-hand right-angle corner complete and lab, and lean them onto the start-finish straight, the centre straight to start it all over again. And if you're wondering why we said 12 corners early on when our circuit map says 13, will depend on your preference. Oggies can be considered just a single corner or 2, and we'll go with it being 2 corners and go with the 13 corner nomenclature. But coming on to our rules, a quick reminder, of course, that in terms of our rules, this is a fixed setup series with setups provided to our drivers ahead of each and every race. In terms of the classes, they were finalised as the conclusion of round number 3. That feels like a long time ago, and I can promise you there's been no class changes going into this round. In terms of our grids, the race 1 grid shall be set based on the results of qualifying, that's a given. The race 2 grid shall be set based on the results of race number 1, so whoever takes victory in race 1, they line up and pole for race number 2, and we work the grid order down accordingly. And the race 3 grid shall be a reverse grid based on results of race 2, the reversal position being drawn live from between P13 and P23, where it was technically drawn live at the time of the racing, and we'll explain a bit more about that, albeit we won't be cut into the commentary booth today to do a raffle draw per se. Now, each driver shall have 1 faster pair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount of 11 laps or 30 minutes, whichever expires first. On top of this, of course, we do have an independent race director stewarding the races, and that's for track limit infringements and deployment of the safety car. And as you can see there, the first and the second warnings for track limits, there's no penalty, they're just warnings. We make it a 5-second post-race time penalty on the 3rd warning, we double it to 10 on the 4th, and on the 5th warning it's a drive-through penalty that must be served within 3 laps, and all racing incidents will be reviewed post-round. Also, a quick reminder, we do have the continued application of Success Ballast on a race-by-race basis on the overall Drivers' Championship and in the Prime and AM classes, and of course the Championship standings dictate the Success Ballast going into qualifying and race 1, and we update it iteratively based on the race results of races 2 and 3. and that success ballast table on that screen there. Just take a quick look at it. Of course, we won't go through all of it, and well, with the success ballast values shown on screen, it's just in time for us to come back to circuit side, and we need to, ladies and gentlemen, because we are very shortly going to be going into what will be our qualifying session. While drivers out there at the moment, it is incredibly wet out there, no doubt about it, and Lee Horn right now, one of the fastest drivers out there and enjoying it in these inclement conditions. But I suspect right now we're going to see plenty of surprises when we do go green flag into qualifying. But who is going to be the Rainmeister or Maestro? That's the big question that we need to answer. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for qualifying. And, well, we head in to that qualifying session. And who is going to be on pole? Let's find out. So as we do clear the board there and the circuit is reset, all the drivers will immediately be eager to make their way out the pit lane as quickly as possible. One of the very first to do so is Benji McCluskey, or Benjamin McCluskey as he's known in full, but Benji is his nickname to friends and drivers up and down the paddock. But as he makes his way out of the pit lane and on towards turn at number 1, well, right now roaring his way on through the Republic of Ireland driver, and as he does so in the number 28, the Veloster here has proven to be a car that's gone quite well in the wet conditions based on pre-round testing, and indeed the practice sessions that were run in the build-up to the races. And on top of that as well, at Magny-Court, we definitely saw the Velosters hold their own in these wet conditions, and could it have found itself what is an ace up its sleeve compared to some of its rivals, because some of the cars on this running order not quite enjoying the wet conditions as much. We definitely did see the Hyundai Elantras, of which we do have a few out there, including the one in the capable hands of Wojciech Swirydowicz just behind Marcel Fritsch, who is the focus of our cameraman's attention. The Elantra did seem to be a little bit of a snake. In fact, I've said the wrong driver's name there. I should be referring to Slavomir Jalvoski, who is in the Hyundai Elantra. Of course, keep an eye on the Wojciech Swirydowicz in the Honda Civic Type R for this season. And well, speaking of the man here, he is, just to confirm which car he is in, and well, we have seen that this Honda has typically gone quite strongly in the wet so far. Indeed, has been a match for the Hyundai Veloster. As the drivers continue to make the way on out in very wet conditions, there's no doubt about it. But we do say hello there and to a good number of you in the YouTube chat. Of course, we said hello to Mark Kent earlier on, who's unfortunately pulled out for the rest of the season, as he's confirmed there, due to technical difficulties that continue to plague him, means he can't race at the moment. And we are going to definitely miss you, Mark, given the fact that you really have been one of the stars. A lot of misfortunes come to you this season, but we do hope you're able to get those technical issues resolved, because we would love to see you back with the grid in season 8. And my gut feeling says, albeit I shouldn't say this because there's this thing called the commentator's curse, but I'm going to say it anyway. I reckon if we got to see Mark Kent on the grid with no technical gremlins and a little bit of better fortune, if he can find a way to get Lady Luck on his side for season 8, we could see an AM champion in the making, or at least an AM title contender, no doubt about it. But in the meantime, we will keep our eyes on Ben Trier, our prime driver for Full Tilt Motorsport, teammate of Mark Kent, of course, and we'll continue to watch his journey avidly as he looks to try and take that Pro Am crown. We'll say hello to SW61 there. I hope you're doing well, SW61 in the YouTube chat. And we say hello in the Twitch chat to bot_14. And well, I hope you're doing well, bot. And asking the question, how do you apply ballast without the ability to do it per driver? It seems impossible based on what I know with regards to iRacing. Well, we essentially do it using the fuel loads on the cars. You can imagine that with the fact that we are running sprint races, therefore it does mean that for our drivers, they take a rather light amount of fuel in their cars by default. But those who are in the cars that deserve success ballast, well, we just simply give them more fuel in the car, and we've worked out the literage versus the number of kilograms that puts in the car, and that's how we're able to present those success ballast kilogram values. But it's all done with the fuel that our drivers do have in their racing machines. But as we do say hello to Handsome Shoe there in the YouTube chat, it says 2 days of running will be nice, in reference to the fact we have got, of course, the post-round broadcast of Snetterton today, and then tomorrow evening we'll have the live broadcast for the circuit side for round number 8 at Suzuka, and it's going to be the ultimate test to see whether my voice is able to stay together, no doubt about it, for 2 nights in a row. I'm sure it will do, and I've got plenty of medicine on standby in case my throat does give out at any point. Well, very happy to have you, Handsome Shoe, and well, good to and see there bot_14 and Logan McKenzie there from the AlphaTauri Challenge. Across the pond, of course, an American series, and well, a number of the drivers on this grid, competitors in that, including the likes of Goldwing Motorsport, of course, not necessarily Andy Fox, but definitely Duncan Moraes, and also Sam Van Olst in previous seasons, and a man who has dominated in the United States, Wojciech Swirydowicz, and I've had the pleasure of seeing him dominate in the AlphaTauri Challenge, and he's doing the same here in the NXTCC. But as he does make his way on around, and we continue our focus on the NXTCC, roaring his way way on around there. What is Williams corner? Well, right now, Swirydowicz, one of many a drive yet to get a lap on the board. Andrew Pite's got an indicative time on the board, albeit I think that's given the fact that he's had a long out lap and therefore his time has been recorded. But I suspect we're going to get those first lap times on the board shortly. And with the lap in the dry being in the region of 2 minutes or just under 2 minutes, you imagine these wet conditions. We saw drivers doing 2 minutes 17s in the final practice session, so therefore they're going to have a very limited number of laps available to them in this qualifying session, and that in itself could bring some surprises given the fact we've typically seen our drivers have the opportunity to get at least 5 or 6 laps of qualifying in, and that is with needing to come into the pits in order to put on a fresh set of tyres. And well, they can't just simply tow to the pits because otherwise they'd end up putting all the fuel back in the car, and that fuel is something they do not want in the car. They want it as light as possible and they want those tyres to be as fresh as possible, and that's why there is a mandate to come into the pits midway through qualifying in order to get the car in prime trim. But Benjamin McCluskey lays down the gauntlet with a 2:16.500. Absolutely precise there, no doubt about it, to get to literally the 10th. And well, as McCluskey makes way on through, some initial lap times coming on down, and what a surprise there from Wojciech Swirydowicz being a whole second of McCluskey's time. Keep in mind, of course, that he does have that success ballast in the car, the best part of 56 kilograms as our overall championship leader. The man can't seem to shed the weight, no doubt about it, and we'll put that weight, find a way to hold him back today after what was a bit of a frustrating time at Magny-Court in the wet conditions. Not quite able to rise to those conditions in race number 2, but race number 3, an incredible drive, it has to be said, and indeed really making its way through the field, and we're looking forward to plenty more of that today. But meanwhile, in the AM class, Mitchell West, the Australian driver, sets the bar at P19 now on a 2:18.555 in the 101. Now Luncher may hit its way around right now, sailing its way around on circuit, and as he heads on down towards turn number 2, making his way onto the brakes. Right now, I think he'll be feeling as though he's done quite well in this qualifying session so far, but there's even more time to come. And do keep in mind, of course, with this being a post-round broadcast, we do have a couple of limitations we should inform you of. One of which is that if any of our drivers have picked up an off-track in this qualifying session, we will not see that reflected on the time in the timing tower, and well, that could come to haunt us a little bit in the fact that it does mean that some of our drivers' lap times may not be valid, and therefore we might see some drivers swap and change position when we do head to the grid for the first time today. On top of that as well, we can't bring you replays of the race in action. We'll have to do our best to try and catch everything we can on the camera, as that's a limitation of watching back an iRacing replay file, but we make the best of the limitations we do have. As meanwhile, Luke Jones moves up to P20, no lap on the board, and suddenly gets one on the board, but 1.7 seconds of the overall pole time. And in terms of versus pole sitter in Pro-Am, provisional pole sitter Ben Altria, he is the best part there, 7.5 tenths down. But what is interesting as well is Michael Lease, in fact, goes even faster than everybody else in the Pro-Am class, goes P7, and just inched out Ben Altria by 1.5 tenths. What is getting quite interesting at the moment, from Jones in P21 to West in P22, we have got the best part there of what is a 4 tenths of a second gap between the two drivers. The gaps are quite small and microscopic, and you've got this sudden gap between those two. And could that potentially form a bit of a delta between those who don't mind the wet conditions here at Snetterton versus those who seem to be struggling? Albeit a lot of AMs in that second half of the running order, and to be fair, that's to be expected. That's why they're AMs at the end of the day. They're not quite as fast as the Primes nor the Pros, and therefore it's not to belittle or besmirch them. That's the way the class system works. But as he makes his way up towards what is Agostini here, well, Lease right now finds himself drop all the way to P18 as more lap times on the board. Toby Prosser now sets the provisional pole time overall, and Brian Pole with it at 2:15.446. Prosser, who really was a revelation at Magny-Court, particularly in race number 2, went completely elbows out, and he was saying about the fact in race number 3, after it happened in France, the fact that he felt as though if luck had been on his side and he'd been able to clear some drives sooner, he could have been, of course, for what would have been a win, if not at least an overall podium in race number 3. And will Prosser right now, and indeed the Aztec Racing Group, but particularly this man in the 41 Elantra, absolutely bucking the trend, which is in these conditions, he just seems to absolutely fly. And as he heads all the way in towards turn number 4, we say hello there to Duncan Rise and also to Phil McDougall, who says, it looks like the weather from Silverstone this weekend. Indeed, it has been absolutely inclement in the United Kingdom for motorsport over the previous weekend, with you tuned into the British Touring Car Championship, of course, and got to see, I'll go quiet for a brief moment in case you need to put fingers in ears to avoid any potential spoilers, but okay, I think I've given you a chance to avoid any potential spoilers there. If you were tuning in, you would have seen this man wrap up the Jack Sears Trophy Championship, and indeed Mikey Doble adding his name to that crown. And also we did get to see what was an independent teams championship crown being awarded to Power Max Racing, the combination of Mikey Doble and also Aaron Taylor-Smith, and Aaron Taylor-Smith taking the independent drivers championship with 3 races to spare. Indeed, 3 championship titles taken by the team, and Mikey Doble achieving that crown that he's been hunting since his debut in the BTCC back in 2023. But right now currently P19. And as he makes his way on around through Oggies into Williams, right now as he rolls his way on through and, well, flashes lights there for traffic in front of him. But I think he'll be feeling as though at this time it's all about trying to get into a little bit of a draft briefly and then make his way past. Does exactly that as the 136 just cruises along there on a cooldown. And that's William Kurtler in the AM class at Aztec Racing, who right now down in P30, but second place AM. And well, meanwhile, Sam Bradley, speaking of the AM drivers, with 5 minutes left on the clock. Bradley was P15 for a brief moment. He's got the best part of half the field between himself and William Kurtler. And right now, Bradley, well, seems to be adapting to these conditions and doing a fantastic job in the number 69. And well, if he can carry this on, is this the late form that we've been looking for from Sam Bradley? Of course, losing out on what was not just that second place and alternatively the win in the AM class at Magny-Cours, but also losing out on a whole multitude of positions after his side-by-side ding-dong battle with Matt Emmons on the final lap. We saw him have to cut the chicane and he couldn't get rid of the automated slowdown penalty at the end of the race and had to mow him all the way to the back of the AM field. And I'm not sure whether the result has been reinstated for Sam Bradley. I don't think it has, from what I'm to understand from reading the instant report from France. But I can tell you one thing, it will only have served to encourage him even more, to give it even more out there. And well, as he makes his way up towards Oggies, meanwhile, we do look here to Joseph Doble, who right now raising the bar 2 tenths clear of Toby Prosser on a 2:15.077. And well, for Joseph Doble, can he find a way to maintain that pole position? Because it's been a long time since we've seen the middle-aged brother of the trio. I do believe he's the second oldest of the trio of Mikey himself and also Isaac, but it's been a long time since we've seen him on pole, let alone the front row of the grid. But as he makes his way on through Bombhole Corner, heading up towards Goram, we'll run a bit wide there onto the exit curve, and there's no grip available. That's going to just pull him to the grass. Does exactly that. As he makes his way on around, well, with only a few minutes to go in this qualifying session, we're going to jump on board very quickly for a flying lap here with Benjamin McCluskey as he takes us around the Snetterton circuit in these inclement conditions. So he makes his way down towards turn number 1, and as he does so, onto the brakes here. What is the 50 meter board trailing off down to 3rd gear, goes to the late apex and gets it absolutely spot on as he makes his way down into the braking zone for turn number 2. Braking about 75 meters before the apex, all the way down to 1st gear, lets the car go nice and deep there. You can do that, of course, with the wet racing line as he makes way out of 2. Now up into turn 3 here, coming into Palmer Corner. This is all about braking later than you want to. You need to go as late as possible. Goes quite early there, and again finds a bit more grip. You can see that drying line with the wheels has been pushed off there as he now makes his way in towards Agostini and the turn 4 hairpin. As he comes down towards the braking zone, braking about 80 meters before the apex, points the car in towards the apex down to 1st gear, and as he points it and thrusts the car through, will absolutely nailing the rotation as he heads in towards Hamilton Bend. Into left hand here, this will be a 3rd gear corner in the dry, and he drops the 2nd down the apex, not able to carry as much speed as he'd like as he now switches the car to the left hand side, opens up Oggie's corner, nice and tight to the apex initially, now stamp the throttle down here, get the car to power up, and as he heads in towards Williams Bend, now just bring it through, gently, feed the throttle in, and now build up the speed here, making sure not to run wide onto those exit curves to not lose grip, as he makes his way down the Bentley back straight. Now heading in towards what will be at the left to right complex here, the absolutely challenging combination of Nelson with Grundle into Nelson. Onto the brakes he goes, down from top gear, down to 2nd as he trails off the brakes there through the right-hander of Nelson, and now only 3 corners to go, starting with Bombhole, which is all about dipping into the depression and then letting the car settle and exit. Plenty of understeer there, even if it was in the dry, but no signs of McCluskey being phased by it. Now into Gorham Corner, nice early turn in, but you can see the car there gradually forced away, brings it back in now to late apex the corner, keep it over to the right and onto the brakes, so Murray straighten the steering, onto the brakes, down to 1st gear, and as he clears the left hand, and now it's a drag race all the way to the line, keeping of course the fact that McCluskey does have the 2nd place success ballast in this car, so therefore carrying the best part of 49 kilograms of success ballast, but he makes his way to the line. What's it going to be for McCluskey? He was P4 going onto this qualifying lap, and he stays there. That's a 2:15.439. Does not improve from his previous best of a 2:15.17 to the nearest hundredth. And I do wonder whether the circuit's just getting a little bit damper, and therefore it started to see the circuit fall away from the ideal. Although saying that, Lee Horn has recently improved to a 2:14.86. He's found 2 temps out there. So perhaps the circuit is actually evolving the other way. And as he makes way out the final corner, what's it going to be for Horn this time? Well, it's going to be a call to the pits there. So Horn decided enough's enough. He's not going to improve further, as Prosser, meanwhile, improves the prime pole time to P2 overall on a 2:15.008 with half a minute to go. He is on to one final flying lap, and will Cam Prosser potentially dethrone Horn? He's 1.5 temps down, but you never know, to be fair, until this qualifying session is done and dusted, whether he's able to do so. Meanwhile, in the battle for Ampole, well, I say battle, Sam Bradley right now P11 as Jamie Dory jumps up to P5, but Bradley at 9 tenths off the overall pole time, but he is 9 tenths faster than Mitchell West. Well, I say that Mitchell West has improved by what is a 10.5 to a 2:16.551, but right now Sam Bradley looks to be in control for pole position. And well, it's been a long time since I've been able to say the words pole position and Sam Bradley in the same sentence, and they're bringing me a big grin right now for the simple reason we want to see him up there. But he makes his way on through Hamilton and in towards Oggies. The checker flag is out of this qualifying session, and well, most of the drivers are out there on their final qualifying laps. The next driver to come around to complete his qualifying session of what is our 43 drivers on this grid today. Absolutely incredible. We started off this season, of course, with 50 drivers, and well, we've still got 43 runners as of this round, and that is fantastic to see. And well, everyone giving it everything in the NXTCC. But right now, here comes Luke Jones, our first driver to come on through, the rest in the pit lane. And as he does so, what can Jones do? He's currently P22, goes P17 on 2:15.956. He finds a few places. That puts him P8 in Pro-Am, so he'll be relatively happy with that. Meanwhile, Michael Lees heads to line, and Lees goes P10 on 2:15.659. So this circuit is getting faster, so whoever goes out there and delivers the lap right at the death of this session may improve. Not so for Benjamin McCluskey. Ian Manners leaps up to P16, so not everybody improving out there. What about Jamie Dory? Well, he's making his way down the back stretch. Meanwhile, as I look out my commentary booth window, I can tell you that Isaac Doble's just crossed the line. He's gone for visual pole on a 2:14.746. Jonathan Rodbrick's up there. Russell Fowler as well. Wojciech Swirydowicz. They all creep into the top 10. Swirydowicz at the bottom of the top 10, so not enjoying qualifying at the moment, and indeed being held back to a degree. Ben Trier jumps up to P6. Without Toby Prosser, will Prosser crosses the line, and in doing so takes pole position back at 2:14.627. Toby Prosser, well, that is going to be overall pole as well as prime pole if it stands, and if anybody else can find a way in, but I don't think so. I think Prosser might have just nailed this right at the close of the session. Marcel Fritsch moves to P30. Sam Bradley P20 still as your pole sitter, and well, anybody out there can improve. Jamie Dory comes to the line here. He does not improve overall. He improves in the first sector only. He stays P7, and well, the last driver out there is Mitchell West, who's coming to the pit lane. So that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen, and Toby Prosser has stolen away pole position right at the close of this session in the wet. And well, I think we could be looking at our rain maestro here, as right now the Aztec Racing driver, he was looking threatening all qualified session. We're 2:14.627. Well, Aztec Racing and Prosser have got that car absolutely dialed in here at Snetterton, and that is an incredible pole lap. And credit as well to Isaac Doble, who will line up alongside him on the front row, a 10th down there in P2, with a further 10th to Lee Horn, and then a further 2 temps to Joseph Doble, who will be on the second row alongside Horn. But just to reiterate, Toby Prosser is your overall and prime pole sitter. Pro pole will go to Isaac Doble starting P2. And Sam Bradley confirmed as your pole sitter, P20, by a sizable 8-place advantage over rival Mitchell West, who starts P28. But that is qualifying at Snetterton complete, ladies and gentlemen, and well, it's definitely proven to be a wet and wild one, but one full of surprises, and that's what we love to see. As we make our way to the grid for our first race of the day, this is how they'll line up for race number 1 of round 7 of season 7 of the NXTCC powered by Doble Motorcycles, brought to you on iRacing. Toby Prosser, your pole sitter overall in the prime class for Aztec Racing, joined on the front row of the grid from that 214.621 by Doble Sim Race's Isaac Doble. On row number 2, the combination of Lee Horn for Sam Case for NXTGEN and Doble Sim Race's Joseph Doble. Great to see the Doble brothers on the front 2 rows of the grid, and well, then Benjamin McCluskey started P5 for NXTGEN Pink, joined on the third row of the grid by Ben Altria. Behind the full tilt B Motorsport driver, who did well to qualify on the third row of the grid, the full row is an all-pro role in its Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink and the Sim Racer Collective's Andrew Pike. Matthew Sheraton starts P9 for Aztec Race ahead of Jovan Roberts to complete the top 10 for Valkyrie Excite, and then Russell Fowler starts P11 for Performance Link Esports as best of the rest. He's joined on the 6th row of the grid by Gavin Garner, who once again just missed out on the top 10 but qualifies inside that top 12 and will be looking to make forward progress for NXTGEN Pink. Behind them, on row number 7, Wojciech Swirydowicz, P13 is where he'll start for Semper Racing in a challenging qualifying session, his weakest performance of the season so far in qualifying, but the Semper Racing driver will still have eyes on the front rows of the grid, as will Duncan Rise for Goldwyn Motorsport. Behind the South African driver, the Polishman of Slavomir Jarvowski for Semper Racing and Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Michael, at least I should say, starts P17 for JW Motorsport, joined on the 9th row of the grid by Matthew Addy for Sam Case for NXTGEN. There's Alan McCain for Iris Esports and Ampole sitter Sam Bradley for SO NXTGEN Gold, who complete your top 20. P21 goes to Andy Fox for Goldwyn Motorsport, and Sam Smith for Iris Esports lines up alongside P22. Ian Manners and Luke Jones for JW Motorsport. The pair will start on your 12th row of the grid, and on row 13 it's Piotr Jegoslewski for Semper Racing and Goldwyn Motorsport's Sam Van Olst. P27 goes to Jake Pitt for Aztec Racing, joined by 2nd place AM starter Mitchell West for Mitchell West Performance. And your top 30 is rounded off on the 15th row by James Spencer-Gal for Aztec Racing and Marcel Fritsch for WS Racing Esports. On row 16, it's Matt Emmons for Verano Motorsport and Mark Sykes for Sam Case for NXTGEN. Valentin Blair started P33 for Valkyrie Excite, and Wayne Douglas started P34 there for NXTGEN Pink. On row number 18, Jonathan Collins will line up for Whiskey Runners Racing in the company of fellow AM driver for Verano Motorsport, Craig Tillerson. And then we do have on row number 19, Costa Chatscon Antonio for 287 Motorsport and William Kurtler for Aztec Racing, with your top 40 being completed by Ryan Plummer for NXTGEN Red and Nick Clemens for Iris Esports. Adam and Ali starts P41 for SO NXTGEN Gold, joined by teammate Adam Delman. Neither of them getting the time on the board, so they've got all the work to do from the back of the grid today. And it will be Patrick Falconer for JW Motorsport and Josh Brown, who will line up on your 22nd and final row of the grid, with the NXTGEN Red driver not getting a lap time on the board, and now he's got all the work to do from the rear. But as we look back down towards the front of the grid, ladies and gentlemen, well, this is a sight we have not seen in a long time, and that is a prime on pole for race number 1 of the day. But the grid is set, the lights are going on, and it's Prosser versus Isaac Doble. But who is going to be leading coming out to turn number 1? Well, it's going to be 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go for the first race of the day here as they get underway. But a lot of wheel spin will hold Toby Prosser back as Isaac Doble nails that race start as they roar the way into turn 1 for the first time of asking. But as they come on down in towards the braking zone, we're right now Prosser being swarmed left, right and centre by pros around him. Ben Altria as well, falling back to P7 with Andrew Pike looking up the inside. The top 10 safely all through the opening corner. Now they come down onto the brakes here as we look to the blimp camera, albeit the blimp not too discerning there. The amount of moisture in the air right now really obscuring what is the definitive liveries of our drivers' cars, albeit it looks like most of the drivers are getting safely on through the opening few corners, although there's been a major incident further down the order from what I'm gathering involving Patrick Falconer, Michael Lees, also Nick Clemens involved in that. But for the most part, out of our 44 starters, at least where's the top 20 have made it safely on through. But Wojciech Swirydowicz has fallen all the way back to P20. He's had a nightmare start to this race, down to P21 now as he heads down in towards Agostini. And as they head onto the brakes here, well, right now Swirydowicz looking more and more vulnerable by the corner as there's a lot of oversteer down to braking into Agostini, drops into P22, and Jake Spencer sneaks up the inside. Meanwhile, speaking of sneaking up the inside, here's Sam Bradley taking a poke up the inside through Hamilton versus Matthew Addy. Now Addy's going to say, we could do that, but now I've got the inside into Oggie's corner and I'm not going to give it up. But Bradley says, you can do whatever you want, I'm going all the way around the outside. And as they head in towards Williams, well, Bradley will get ahead, and in the end Addy has to back out there, as meanwhile Mikey Doble looking to make some early progress, already 4 places up overall, 1 in pro class, and now making up more haste after what is Gavin Gardner in front of him. But as they head in towards what will be the complex there of none other And then Brundle into Nelson. Everyone's going to calm down for a brief moment, and everyone will stay nose to tail for now as Toby Prosser into the grass, and that has been under braking into what has been Nelson Corder, and Prosser did so well to put the car on pole, and it's all unfolded in dramatic fashion after a lot of wheel spin at the start, and the 41 driver immediately now onto the rear of Matthew Addy and trying to go back on the offensive without delay, but it means that Ben Altry is now your Pro-Am leader, and Prosser right now, he'll be hoping that he doesn't make any more mistakes at this moment in time, because he doesn't want to undo all the early work. As the drivers make the way through the final corner, where everyone tiptoeing right now, still trying to find the grip, but after one lap of racing, it is Isaac Doble who leads ahead of Joseph Doble. It's a Doble 1-2 for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Lee Horn, followed by Benjamin McCluskey P4, then Jamie Dory P5, Ben Altry, your prime leader, P6. He's got Matthew Sheraton at second by P7. And it's Andrew Pike, Jonathan Roberts, and Mikey Doble who complete your top 10. Gavin Gardner P11, and from best of the rest, we then get to what is your AM leader, and Sam Bradley's had to come into the pit lane, and something's gone wrong for Sam Bradley off camera, but Matt Emmons right now in the lead of the AM class here, with William Kurtler behind him by a second, but right now Emmons looks to be rising up through and just staying out of trouble, but then again there could be a spin in the tail before all is said and done, and Sam Bradley, if he's had to come into the pits, it's been a very quick pit stop because he's back out there, he's down in P26, but he's only what is the best part of 9 seconds off of Emmons, and given the respective qualifying times, Bradley would, if we took the qualifying pace between the two of them, he would be making up at least a second lap on Emmons, and he could be there on the last couple of laps to go battling, and that's the thought that we need to keep our eyes out for, no doubt about it, as Bradley right now tries to bring it back together, but we're not quite sure what the story was in order to lead him to come into the pits, other than perhaps a bit of a bump on the car, but as he makes his way on through in towards what is Agostini, from him, we do look to Craig Tillerson and Sam Smith, and Tillerson right now looking comfortable there in P27 and just holding on to P5 in the AM class, with Roy Plummer trying to chase after him, but they have got between the two of them Sam Smith, as meanwhile we've got more shaking back and forth, and that is Mikey Doble going slowly on the exit out of Williams corner onto what is the Bentley back straight, and I think Mikey Doble may have had a run wide out of Williams, and that has cost him multiple places, dropped him back from P10 to P13 as they all come into the left, into the right, and as they make their way through what is Brundle into Nelson. Right now it's all about tiptoeing around and trying to find those grip levels. There's a run wide there in the rear of the picture, and that is for what is none other than James, in fact that is James Smasser's. I was right the first time when I was about to say it, and as he makes his way on through the right hander and upwards towards what is Coram, right now Smasser's will need to bring it back together as quickly as possible, as he doesn't want to make mistakes there, and Aztec Racing looking very strong in qualifying, and I have to say some of the drivers right now I think just perhaps being caught out by the conditions, albeit Matthew Sheraton meanwhile, you see there in the shot as they make their way across the start finish line doing well, but we're looking here at Joseph Doble versus Lee Horn, and after what's a strong start from the Doble brothers, now Horn making his way around the outside, absolutely slipping all over the place, both of these Honda Civics. And as they come down towards the braking zone for Wilson Hairpin, Lee Horn does get ahead, gets the car retarded in time, but you can see then the number 11 of Joseph Doble is not going away. But the problem is now, it looks so Horn might be feeling a little bit more confident compared to Doble, and just feeling as though perhaps he can push the car slightly over the edge compared to what the Doble Sim Racing driver can do, and that is an uncomfortable place to be, because of course you're running at your maximum in these conditions, but you're finding your rivals around you have got a little bit more speed by comparison. Well, suddenly you're almost lured into that mental space of I have to be as aggressive as they are, or I have to start moving a little bit quicker, and that's when the mistakes can start to occur. So for Joseph Doble, he's now got to make a decision, which is, does he chase Horn down, or does he try and settle for P3 and try to find some natural pace and then bring himself back in? Well, he's the one who could be the judge of that. But meanwhile, as they make the way on through Oggies and in towards none other than Williams corner once again, well, meanwhile we look to Mikey Doble battling side by side with Russell Fowler. This is for P12. Fowler trying to go all the way around the outside to defend, with Doble making progress, and that is Michael Lees taking it slowly. We saw him off track moments ago. Agostini in the weeds. He should try to stay out of danger and out of trouble with everybody, but right now the performance-filling Audi not giving up, and it's going to be a drag race here, which the Audi will win that drag race in the long haul based on the balance of performance of these cars, and that lovely camera shot of all of our drivers coming down the back straight here. But Fowler versus Doble, too wide they go into the complex, and towards Nelson they come, but neither one willing to give way, and Mikey Doble in the end able to plant it on the inside brilliant craftsmanship there from both drivers, but Mikey Doble showing exactly where the grip is, and in the end not wilting to what many would have done in terms of backing out there, and it just goes to show you can go too wide. But as they make the way on through into Coram Corner, well, meanwhile further down the order, this is Jonathan Collins trying to make some further headway into the top 30. As the Whiskey Runners Racing driver right now all over the back of Patrick Falconer, albeit Falconer at this time really struggling for pace, it would seem, and Collins staying close. But is he going to be able to find a way for as they make the way down the back straight? Will we ride on board here with Collins and that spray coming off the back of the JW Motorsport Honda? I can only imagine from the driver's perspective. Of course, our camera not perhaps being the best indicator of what it looks like from driver's eyes, but as they make the way under braking here, will Collins right now close, but in the end Falconer just able to pitch the car exactly where he needs to in terms of pulling it up, and will no change between the two of them. But as they make the way on through at Bombhole Corner, meanwhile we look back up towards the front of the field, and this is Isaac Doble still storming away at the front of the field. And then in P2, Lee Horn with Joseph Doble for company, and Jamie Dory not too far behind, as we're not even at the halfway point of this race yet here at Snetterton's 300 layout for race number 1 of the day. And well, as the Englishman of Horn looks to try and chase after Isaac Doble, it looks like the youngest member of the Doble family on the grid is absolutely set up for success here, and now it's a question of whether Horn can pull away from the hungry pack behind, or whether he will be consumed by it and be made to battle for P2 all the way to the end of this race, as Jamie Dory now started to inch closer and closer to the back of Joseph Doble as they make the way in towards what will be Williams Corner. And we ride on board here looking down over the front of the 13 Veloster, and will Dory there getting the better run out the corners. You can see absolutely now all over the back of his rival. He's going to have to make a call here as he builds up the overspeed, and he's going to call to the inside. This went on the outside of Nelson, but onto the brakes they go, and as they do, well, Dory decides to back off just a little bit there, not push his luck, and will give the racing room to Joseph Doble. But as they make the way through, you can see Doble there taking too much apex, go put the car up, 2 wheels of sparks flow, and as they make their way into Bombhole Corner, Dory absolutely insisting on making this move, runs around the outside, just about avoids being taken to the grass there by the exit curve, and Dory gets the move done. That was incredibly brave for the number 13 driver, no doubt about it. It required some compliance from Joseph Doble, but to be fair, at the top end of the NXTCC, you're going to see that from the drivers. They know each other, they know how hard they can push each other, and when they've got to back off, and Jamie Dory absolutely there running on the ragged edge of adhesion, and also pushing Joseph Doble to the limit, and in the end finding that limit to take P3. But as they head on to another lap, well, right now this has brought McCluskey, Altria and Cheverton right into the hunt, and here is your prime leader of Altria in the 504, and the Full Tilt Motorsport drivers got Cheverton pushing him every step of the way in their fight for the prime lead, albeit no change at the moment. Cheverton getting closer on the break in that time around. Meanwhile, Dory going very deep there into Wilson. That brings Joseph Doble right back into the fight, and well, this is going to release Lee Horn. The gap to Lee Horn is already 1.5 seconds in front of the two of them, but right now I don't think they're focusing on that. I think they're focusing on one thing, which is battling, as we can see a sideways slide there from Jamie Dory, and well, as they come on down, next up is going to be Benjamin McCluskey, who looks to try and make a move on his teammate here, albeit I think they'll be on the radio to each other trying to figure this one out. We can see also there, Cheverton takes a look up the inside of Aldria, coming on for Agostini. Can't quite find it this time around. The camera being a bit deceptive there. You may have thought he was alongside, but not to be. But the point being that Cheverton right now really pushing Aldria every step of the way. As we ride aboard and look back from the rear, the leading Elantra. And as they make the way through the right-hander, well, at this time you would have to imagine that Aldria will be wanting the pros in front of him to get a move on, to stop fighting and just settle down, because right now Cheverton is looking absolutely restless behind. And with that Aztec racing machine, when it's red and it's in your mirrors, only one thing is going your way, and that is a battle, there's no doubt about it. But as Altria powers his way up the gearbox here and in towards front of Nelson right now, no change between the two of them. Cheverton not quite getting the exit he wanted there out of Williams Corner, and I think still looking for further opportunities. But from then we look a bit further down the order, and this is the battle for what is P15. At the head of it is Andy Fox with Sam Van Olst, his teammate for Goldwing Motorsport, behind the two Goldwing Audis together. And then Jonathan Robrix, the Valkyrie X-Type driver, right now in the thick of this battle, with Ian Manners and Jay Pitt joining their own little contentious battle behind them in the hunt for P18. But the point being, all 5 of these drivers could all have an opportunity to pick up the last of the overall points in terms of finishing P15 in this race. And as they make the way on around through Coram in towards what is Murray, you can see that everybody sliding and twitching from side to side as they break their way into one of the hardest corners of the circuit. That combination of Coram into Murray, in the fact that you are technically on steering lock and you have to straighten the steering wheel at the last possible moment in order to get the maximum possible braking force, and that's in the dry. And then when you add the wet to it, the fact the car's unsettled naturally coming off a Coram corner, and then you've got to stamp on the anchors, and what everybody right now just trying to keep that nose pointed. And Roberts gets a brilliant run out of Rich's corner. Can he go for the move here into Wilson? He's going to look around the outside of a nose, but well, is that going to yield the rewards he would like? He goes with the cutback move there, but the problem is those Audis are absolutely planted, and when the Goldwyn Motorsport pair of Alston Fox are putting themselves too wide on the exit of the corner, well, they're becoming a rolling blockade, albeit there I think Fox had a very poor run out of Wilson. That's enabled Van Olst to get ahead, and a little bit of elbows there between Fox and Robrix. Robrix pulls back in behind, and now here comes Manners to try and go on the attack versus Robrix. They head in towards Agostini on the outside. The JW Motorsport Veloster goes. Robrix defends off the road. That is Sam Van Olsen taking the trip to the weeds, and well, he makes it out of the Marshland in the end. But as they head in towards Hamilton, it's all changed in the hunt for the final points paying position overall. Andy Fox holds on to it, but Robrix is out to P16, Manners to P17, Pitts P18, and Van Olsen down to P19 in quick succession. As meanwhile, looking a little bit further up the road, Toby Prosser makes another move. That's for P9, and that's up the inside. Duncan Moraes coming through Oggies into Williams, albeit I think Moraes has not given up here in the battle of the Audi versus the Elantra. We know these two cars are very fast, albeit Prosser there really making Moraes wonder about that inside line and push him to the very limit of the track surface. And well, I think Prosser will get away with that once or twice, but I think if he keeps doing it, Moraes may say, well look, I've got to exist somewhere. And as they make the way on through, but to be fair, the camera only showing one side of the story there, and as they make the way in towards Bombhole corner, right now Prosser definitely trying to keep everybody behind and doesn't want to leak any more places if he can help it. But I think Duncan Moraes at this point is trying to say to him, yes, you can get ahead of me, but I'm not just going to leave you alone. You may have put it on pole, but that was qualifying. This is the race. And as they head on through Murray corner, well, no change this time, and Prosser does seem to be starting to extend away, and well, Prosser definitely has been a revelation in this race so far. Even when his chips are down, he's finding a way to bring some good fortune his way. But meanwhile, Matthew Sheraton and Ben Altria, they swap places on the end of that final lap, and well, that previous lap, I should say, we're nowhere near the final lap. Let's get it right. And as they make the way through Richards in towards Wilson, well, this time Sheraton has to go defensive. Altria looking for a way round here, but no change. And well, as we see Altria getting a bit too close to the rear of Sheraton, meanwhile, Sam Bradley, as he's just disappeared from camera shots, such the speed he's going for the attack here for the AM lead on Emmons, and well, Bradley fell out the lead at the start of this race, lost 5 places. He's got his way back alongside, but it's not over yet in the battle between the two AM Honda drivers. And well, you've got Emmons for Verona Motorsport on the outside, SO and Extra Gold Sam Bradley on the inside, and as they make the way in towards the apex, Bradley will get ahead at Wilson, and I think that might be it, unless Emmons can get traction here in towards Palmer corner. He's not going to, he's 2.5 tenths back, and Sam Bradley has made the recovery to the AM lead. Of course, we've still got plenty of laps to go. After this one, we've got another 4 laps remaining, but Sam Bradley right now on a ferocious recovery drive and doing exactly what's needed. And for Emmons, well, he won't be too upset about it if he can finish P2 behind him, but at the same time, he'd love a win of his own in order to level the playing field versus Daniel Fritz going into the final 3 rounds of the championship. But as the drivers make the way up towards Hamilton, there's a long journey to go before this race is over. And we've got to keep that in mind. Of course, anything can happen before they reach that checker flag. And we'll speak of anything that can happen. Jonathan Robrix has recently as well found his way past Andy Fox, albeit he won't be ahead for too long if he runs that wide out of Williams time and time again. And well, that's cost him a bit of speed going down the Bentley straight. You can see Fox and then Manners behind as they all fight over P15, the coveted position that Robrix is holding on to at this time. Onto the brakes they go, and as they do, no way through for Fox. He gets close, but he can't find a way in order to encroach alongside at the moment. You can see everybody slithering all over the place at the moment as we do jump aboard here with the rear man of this group, and that is James Manson's out in P20 in the 660, the Audi RS3 from Aztec Racing. roaring along, and it's in the acceleration zones where this Audi typically goes so strongly, and especially on the start and back straight as he gets very close there to Van Olsen. Everybody queuing up behind each other here. You can imagine Smazersgal, he wants to brake a lot later there, but he can't, given the fact he's got a pack of 5 cars in front of him that are all continuing to get into these heavy braking zones. And the problem is for the Briton, he can try and dive on the inside of one, but in doing so, would he be able to stop the car in time for the next driver? The next one ahead of Van Olsen would be his teammate Jay Pitt, and the last thing you want to do is end up in an incident with your teammate. It is the cardinal sin of motorsport to do so, and as he makes his way in towards turn number 2, you can see Smazersgal trying to put as much pressure as possible on Pitt, and well, not on Pitt, on Van Olsen. Pitt just maintaining his own racing line, but Van Olsen right now responding to it, and in turn these two fighting, but Van Olsen as well trying to make a move on Pitt, and indeed it's a rocket hard place that Sam Van Olsen is caught between, and he can't seem to find a way to shift for it at the moment as these three are falling back off the battle in front of them, and will Pit right now to go defensive in the middle of the road. That will give a little bit of a toe to Smazersgal, and I think here the Aztec Racing a pair are trying to craft a move, and well, as they do, it's going to be Pit who drags the car through the hairpin, and that's going to bring Smazersgal right alongside as they make the way on out of the corner, and Sam Van Olsen in the end being attacked by the teamwork of the Aztec Racing pair. Smazersgal leaps ahead of the pair of them, and well, I think Pit now will try and go defensive. As you can see, Smazersgal and Pit go side by side into Oggy's corner. Smazersgal dictates the line, and in the end, Sam Van Olsen being robbed there of 2 places through some excellent tactics from the Aztec Racing pair of Pit and Smazersgal, and that is how you work your way past one driver. You've got to feel for Sam Van Olsen, the fact he just waited to battle his way past Jay Pitt, but in the end, in being made to stall going for Agostini, well, now he has to sit and watch as the 2 teammates fight each other, albeit they want them to fight each other too hard, surely, and indeed they calm the battling down. But meanwhile, just up the road, coming underneath our cameraman, Duncan Rice for Goldwyn Motorsport, fend off Mikey Doble still for now, as I think Ben Altree has just recovered from off track, coming out of what was Murray Corner, and coming out of Nelson Corner, I should say, and the full tilt with Motorsport driver in taking the scenic route to rejoin, which ends up happening as soon as you go out onto that grass, you just end up in a car that essentially makes you a passenger, and Altree goes a bit deep, and Murray Corner, and again, has to very gingerly bring it back on, struggling to get the car back on there, and in the end into the pit lane. There's something broken on the car. I suspect something has. It wouldn't be coming in otherwise. And well, the full tilt with Motorsport drivers race has gone from good to bad to nightmare in the space of what is 4 laps remaining. But as our leaders roar their way onwards, and we do look to Isaac Doble continue to lead this race. Well, Isaac Doble's pace is continuing to stay within the high 214s, but he is being caught up to by Lee Horn. And in fact, Horn in that last lap was the best part of what was 2/10 faster than Doble, albeit with a 2-second gap between them. Isaac Doble can afford to lose that time and still feel safe going on to the final lap. But I would imagine the number 65 driver here might now, having pushed so hard in the early stages, perhaps he's finding that the wet line is coming away from him, and Horn, by comparison, is finding that there's a better line out there. And that's the thing with these evolving conditions. It's not about holding the race in line as much anymore. It's more about finding where the ideal line is, and well, Horn seems to be finding it more and more as he takes 2 attempts out of Isaac Doble on the run through the infield section, and as he makes his way through Williams Corner, could we see a late battle, given the fact that after this lap we're still going to have 2 more to go. Well, from them, we look to the back of the top 5, and this is Benjamin McCluskey with teammate Jamie Dory as they chase after Joseph Doble. And well, Joseph right now will be thinking more and more about trying to put some pressure onto Lee Horn to let Isaac run away with the win for the Doble Sim Racing team. The team, of course, missing 2 rounds earlier in the season. It has effectively ruled them out of the team's championship in terms of going for the gold medal. But the flip side of the coin being they'll still want to finish inside that top 3 where they can. So therefore, they'll definitely want to get both drivers on the podium. Ideally, they'll want a 1-2, or they want to guarantee the win as a minimum. And right now, where you can imagine Next Gen Pink defending champions would love the same to both be on the podium there, but McCluskey and Dory just don't quite seem to have as much pace in them. But keep in mind as well, out of this top 5, they both are running the highest amount of success bars respectively between them, and therefore that is a factor which they will be battling against all the way to the very end. But as they make their way across the timeline, and this time we ride on board with Joseph Doble as he heads into turn 1. And you can see Dory getting very close there through the rotation of the right-hander, but not quite able to find a way through Richards. We'll look up the inside into Wilson, but that's more of a feint than anything else, just a little bit of a sneak peek for what could come later on as they roll off the brakes back onto the throttle. It's all about tentative steps here, about trying to bury that throttle sooner rather than later. But no change between them. Moment Story stays close, and well, he just can't quite find a way to get alongside. But as they make the way on through Palmer Corner, meanwhile we look to Craig Tillerson, who's battling with Costa Chatscontinentu. This is the fight for P5 in the AM class as they wind their way on through Coram. You can see there Chatscontinentu going very tight to the inside. The 287 Motorsport driver, to be fair, getting the car parked up very nicely. It cost him a bit of time on corner exit, giving his exiting on a much tighter line and having to rotate the car through a much wider radius. But the flip side of the coin being that Chatscontinentu can get the car parked up as comfortably as that. He may be feeding as though that's where the grip is for him, and it is working out because he holds that gap. Roy Plummer's also in this battle, 7/10 further back, but Chatscontinentu goes a bit wide, and well, here comes Tillerson looking up the inside. Can he get it stopped on the brakes in time? Well, the 287 Motorsport Veloster tries to go a bit deeper, does get it stopped later than his rival, and it will stay as is for now. But Tillerson eager to make the move, but just can't find the final 5 yards on the brakes, which Chatscontinentu can do at this time as they make the way around on this penultimate lap. Meanwhile, coming back towards the front, what we were wondering about when Dorian Horn and Doble were going to battle, well, here it is as they make the way on through. What is there, Brundle and Nelson? And as they make the way out, it's too wide here between Dorian and Joseph Doble. A small tap between the two of them, but they both survive it. And Lee Horn, I believe, had a poor run coming out of Williams' corners, what's cost him and brought him right into the clutches of this battle. But Joseph Doble moves up into P2 as they wind their way through Coram Corner. There's Peter Jegoslavsky in front. He's a lap down. You have the blue flags waving, and I suspect he'll step aside on the start finish straight, and he does exactly that immediately. Lovely awareness there from the Semper Racing driver, but as our race leader goes on to one last lap off camera, eyes at Doble, surely must have this one right now. Well, Joseph Doble is defending to try and make it a Doble Sim Racing 1-2, and as they head into Rich's corner, Jamie Dory looks around the outside, but Joseph Doble holds a nice inside line there, making sure to make that Honda plenty wide, but takes a bit too much speed, runs wide. Jamie Dory does the same there, mimicking his rival's mistake. Lee Horn on the inside, but here comes Benjamin McCluskey. McCluskey backs up his teammate and says, "No, Lee, you're looking at me, not Jamie." And as they come out of 2, up towards 3, well, Jamie with a poor exit there, and now as a result, Horn's going to be looking around the outside. He can't quite find it, however, or can he? Yes, he's got the grip, but will he have the pace to make it out towards Agostini? And the two come together, and will in the end, the camera angle not flattering for the pair of them. Now, did Dory come across the Horn, or did Horn not give Dory enough width on the corner? Well, we won't be able to know from that camera angle. We won't be able to get a replay this time. That puts Dory all the way down to the bottom end of the top 10, into P10 now, as Duncan Rice looks up the inside, and Mikey Doble's just got him through as well. But surely that is going to make this a Doble 1-2 when all is said and done. Unless there's a further twist in the tail. You never know, of course. Indeed, it's not over until we get to that checkered flag. And we'll speak of things not being over as Dory gets back ahead of Duncan Race for P9. Well, meanwhile, we do look a bit further down, and Tillerson versus Chatscontinentu and also Roy Plummer. These three still fighting over what is the final spot in the AM top 5. And well, Tillerson goes very deep. Plummer's going to try and cover the move here into P6. He's going to go for it around the outside. Will he be able to do so? He does get it gripped up there in the Elantra, but Tillerson's not going to back out as Alan McCain a lap down watches on. And well, Roy Plummer, a lovely move around the outside, takes P27 overall, or P6 in AM. But as they make the way down towards Agostini and the rain, it may not be falling on this circuit. It is drying gradually, but it's taking its time to dry, no doubt about it. Well, meanwhile, we must look back up to the front of the field, because this is Joseph Doble, who's in P2 right now, and he's going to feel happy because he knows he's going to be on the second spot of the podium, and he's bringing up what is the rear of a 1-2, with as Isaac Doble makes his way out of the final corner. He's been calm, he's been in control, and whilst he may be young, his youth belies his experience as he comes to line and takes victory in the wet at Snetterton for race 1 of the day. Isaac Doble is your winner for Doble Sim Racing, and Joseph Doble makes it a Doble Sim Racing 1-2 in the number 11 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, who takes the final spot on the overall podium. Lee Horn finishes P4. Matthew Sheraton comes across the line, your prime winner P5, and an absolutely brilliant drive for Aztec Racing. Indeed, absolutely cool as it comes, and taking the win off of Ben Aldrin in that brilliant battle. Andrew Pike P6, Toby Prosser makes it a 1-2 in the prime class at Aztec Racing with a P7. Mikey Doble P8 ahead of Jamie Dory P9, and then Duncan Rice will wrap up the prime podium there, P10. Meanwhile, further back, Sam Bradley comes on through to take AM victory, P20. In a great recovery drive after the difficulties of the start for SO NXTGEN Gold. Matt Emmons finishes just behind him, P2 in the AM class, P21 for Rhino Motorsport, and William Kurtler will bring on home the final spot on the AM podium, P24 for Aztec Racing in the 136, and he'll be happy with that, with Marcel Fridge only 2.5 seconds behind. And to be fair, the WS Racing eSports driver keeping Kurtler honest all the way through. Meanwhile, the battle for P5 in the AM class, Konstantin Konstantin will hold on to take P5. Another top 5 comes to the name of the 287 Motorsport driver, despite the pressure of Roy Plummet and Craig Tillerson as they finish P26 through to P28 respectively. And well, as the field comes to the end, Wojciech Swirydowicz, meanwhile, P31, his lowest ever finishing performance for this season, I do believe. But as the number 1 driver makes his way through the last couple of corners, with the Semper Racing Honda, it's definitely found what has been a bit of a weak spot in race number 1. And as he heads towards the line, he'll know that he's still got 2 more races to come and a huge championship lead. But ideally, he would like to maintain that lead by the end of today. As he takes P31, it's then to Nick Clibbins to be the last of our finishers of this race as he makes his way down in towards the final corner, goes a little bit deep of apex there, but I think at this point these wet tyres may have had it, to be fair, and he's just trying to get the car on home. And as he heads in towards what is the start finish line, Nick Clibbins will be your last lead lap finisher, P32 and P13 in Pro-Am. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, there are the Doble Sim Racing pair of Isaac and Joseph. 1, 2 for the pair of them in that order. What a way to start off their bank account for the day. And the Doble Sim Racing pair in the wonderful, of course, Power Max liveried Honda Civic Type R's, doing the job and doing it in absolute style. And Isaac Doble, after taking the lead, never looked back. And Joseph Doble made himself as wide as possible for as long as possible and did exactly what was needed. Matthew Shepperton comes in as your prime winner, and well, the Aztec Racing driver in the 390. 9 that he couldn't quite get in qualifying, and Toby Prosnian may have dropped the ball, but a 1-2 for Aztec Racing in the prime class. They'll still be happy with that, a double top 10 for the pair. And then as Sam Bradley makes his way down pit lane, the SL NXTGEN Gold driver, he may have started off with difficulty, but he ended on a high. And Matt Emmons, a P2 to his name, a solid drive in the AM class, P21 overall. And the Rhino Motorsport driver won't mind that at all. As William Kurtler parks up there as your 3rd place finish in the AM class, we take a look at the scenic view, ladies and gentlemen, because it's time for us to take a look at those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. And as the results are up on the screen there, of course, all subject to stewards' inquiries for race 1 of round 7 of season 7 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles and brought to you on iRacing. Isaac Doble bringing home a 1-2 for Doble Sim Racing ahead of teammate Joseph Doble by 4 seconds. And with that gap being to the control of Isaac Doble, and also all the fighting Joseph Doble had to put on in order to fend off Benjamin McCluskey, who took P3 at the close for NXTGEN Pink. Over the podium spots, Lee Horn at P4 there for Sam Case for NXTGEN, following his late altercation with Jamie Dory on the final lap. Matthew Sheraton at P5 there, your Pro-Am winner for Aztec Racing, and what was 4 attempts clear of Andrew Pike, a 6th place there for the Sim Racing Collective driver in a relatively quiet race in terms of time on camera, but Andrew Pike always guaranteed to make progress inside that top 10, another solid drive from the 57. The number 41 of Toby Prosser took the run-up spot in the Prime class, P7 overall there for Aztec Racing, and Aztec Racing 1-2 for Sheraton and Prosser in the Primes. And then Mikey at Doble P8 there for Doble Sim Racing, who started P16, a great drive there, especially with the success ballast in that car for the 88. Then Jamie Dory P13 for NXTGEN Pink, and a frustrated end to the race after that brilliant battling. And I'm sure you'll have a chat with Lee afterwards as to what exactly happened there. And Duncan Rise rounded off the top 10 for Goldwyn Motorsport there, and with it the Pro-Am podium of Matthew Sheraton, Toby Prosser and himself. Behind Duncan Moraes, Gavin Goddard, best of rest P11 for NXTGEN Pink, with Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports just missing out on the Prime podium, but fending off Sam Case for NXTGEN's Matthew Addy for 4th place in the Prime class. Matthew Addy P13 overall, ahead of Jonathan Robrix, Valkyrie Excite, who did well to fight his way through and take what was that P14 after a slow start. Andy Fox completed your overall top 15 and took the last of the overall points there for Goldwyn Motorsport with that 15th place finish. And then to wrap up your top 20, it was Ian Manners ahead of the Aztec Racing pair of Jake Pitt and James Mazersgal. And then we did see what was Sam Van Olst and Sam Bradley. From the two Sams, of course, the latter of the two here, perhaps being the more topical, as taking the AM class win for SL NXTGEN Gold and doing a fantastic job in battling back after falling to P5 in the class on the opening lap. He managed to fend off Matt Emmons by 3 seconds at the death of the race of Verano Motorsport, and then Ben Altrier and Mark Sight split the AM finishers, with William Kurtler P24 there for Aztec Racing, and completing the AM podium of Bradley Emmons and himself. Marcel Fritsch P25 for WS Racing Esports in a closely fought battle. William Kurtler, bending the Austrian driver just falling short. And it was Costa Chatskonstantin who brought home the final of the top 5 spots in the AM class, P26 on the road for 287 Motorsport, and fending off Roy Plummet and Craig Tillerson in that brilliant battle between the trio. From P28 finisher for Verano Motorsport Craig Tillerson, we saw the top 30 completed by Patrick Falconer and Jonathan Collins. P31 went to Wojciech Swirydowicz in a difficult race for the Semper Racing driver, losing plenty of place at the start and never quite getting into first gear. And then we saw Nick Clearing's P32, the last of our lead lap finishers for iRacing Esports. A lap down at the finish, Piotr Jigosławski, Sam Smith, Slamir Jalowski, Alan McCain and Michael Lees to P37. And behind the JW Motorsport driver, 2 laps down to his teammate Luke Jones P38. And then we did see 3 laps down to Mitchell West, 5 laps down to Wayne Douglas, and then classified as non-finishers as they did not complete over half the race distance, Valentin Umblair, Adam McNally, Adam Delmont and Josh Brown. So 44 starters, and in the end what was 40 finishers, and of those 32 on the lead lap. Well, that was race number 1 of the day here at the Snetterton 300 circuit, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got 2 more races to come in round 7 of the championship, and we'll be back shortly for the build-up to race number 2 in approximately 6 to 7 minutes time. But until then, we're just going to step away, but of course not without a word from our title sponsor for this season, and that is Doble Motorcycles. We will see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. are back, ladies and gentlemen, for the build-up to race 2 of 3 here today in round 7 of the NXTCC Season 7, as brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. Race number 1 was all about inclement conditions and finding the grip in very wet seas, or should I say on a very wet circuit, albeit you would imagine they were trying to sail boats around Snetterton. But now in race number 2, it looks as though the circuit is gradually drying up, and with it could we see a much faster paced race? Well, I say the circuit is drying up, it looks like there's still quite a bit of standing water out there, but at the same time as well, the circuit will gradually start to become drier and drier, and when it does so, we may just open the door to see some drivers start to make their way back through the pack, where others have struggled in the wet conditions. They may thrive in the dry and vice versa. But one of the big names of race number 1 was none other than this man, Wojciech Swirydowicz, who did the lion's share of the defensive work in holding on to P2 and bringing it on home alongside teammate Isaac Doble, who brought home the victory to make it a 1-2 for the pair, as we do see Isaac Doble here. And well, further on down the order, of course, we did see what was that Pro-Am win, and a Pro-Am 1-2 for Aztec Racing, but Matthew Sheraton bringing home the win ahead of Toby Prosser. And speaking of Matthew Sheraton, here he is, the Aztec Racing driver, who didn't have it all his own way, battled hard with Ben Altrier, who you can see in the rear of the picture there, and well, funny, they're both out on the circuit together, but I can imagine that might be a little bit of mind games between the two of them, as well as perhaps a bit of a coincidence. And will Toby Prosser, who was the man who put it on overall pole, struggled off the line, and in at the end couldn't quite bring it back in time, but still picked up a P2 in the Prime class, and well, with a P7 overall behind Matthew Sheraton's P5, and of course between the two of them, Andrew Pike. Meanwhile, in the AM class, it was the story of this man. Albeit he won't want to quite get it wrong when he goes racing this time, as it almost went very wrong in race number 1. Lost multiple places on the open lap, had to recover, but did so and retook the lead with 3 laps to spare. And well, leading home that victory ahead of Matt Emmons, who was none other than Sam Bradley with SRL and NXTGEN Gold. As we get set then for race number 2, ladies and gentlemen, don't be fooled by the timer at the top centre of your screen. We do have approximately about 30 seconds or so left before we do head to that grid. Well, there's only time to tell you, of course, the fact we should say hello to so many of you in the respective chats, where it be Katie Eames in the Facebook chat, and thank you, Katie. I'm very happy to be better. I'll tell you one thing, I had no voice last Tuesday, and well, you would have seen all the race in action, but you wouldn't have had any commentary. Now, some might say, to be fair, that perhaps is better, but still, I'm going to go with the fact that we're doing a decent job here in the commentary booth, and I'm glad to have you with us. I hope you're doing well. We'll also say hello there to Andrew Pike, and also Alan Luth in the YouTube chat, and also to Smags660. There's a little bit of banter going on there amongst you guys in the YouTube chat. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our drivers to make their way to the grid once again, because practice is over. It's time for race number 2. And as our drivers make the way onto the grid, one of the challenges we will have here is the fact that we won't be able to quite walk you through the grid as we normally would, given the fact that due to limitations of the iRacing replay file, our grid will show all the drivers in the incorrect order. But thankfully, through the power of a bit of note-taking on a monitor off screen, what we can do is tell you how our drivers are going to line up, and it will be as follows. Isaac Doble will take pole position for race number 2 after that victory in race 1. Joined on the front row of the grid is a Doble Sim Racing driver by teammate Joseph Doble. And then on row number 2, it will be Benjamin McCluskey and Lee Horn, followed up by Matthew Sheraton, who starts P5, the prime pole sitter, who has the company of Andrew Pike alongside. Then on row number 4, it'll be Toby Prosser, the second of our primes, and Mikey Doble, who starts P8, with Jamie Dory and Duncan Rise completed your top 10. Best of SP11 will be in the hands of Gavin Gardner. It's a safe pair of hands there, no doubt about it, albeit Gardner would love to make a bit more progress, there's no doubt about it, and he'll be joined on row 6 by Russell Fowler. And then on row number 7, it'll be Matthew Addy and Jonathan Robrix. We then have on row number 8 Andy Fox and Ian Manners, followed up by Jake Pitt and James Smaslersgal. The 2 Aztec Racing drivers are looking to make progress into the top 13 where they can. And then your top 20 is completed by Sam Verlost and Sam Bradley, the AM pole sitter, of course, for a good starting position there in P20. We then have P21 Matt Emmons ahead of Ben Altrier, with the 12th row of the grid going to Mark Sykes and Michael Kurtler. We then do William Kurtler, I should say, and then we do have Marcel Fritsch and Costa Chatskonstanantu on row number number 13 ahead of Roy Plummer and Craig Tillison, and then Patrick Falconer and Jonathan Collins will complete your top 30. Outside the top 30, it will be Wojciech Swirydowicz and Nick Clemens ahead of Piotr Jelzleski and Sam Smith, with Slamir Javosky and Alan McCain on row number 18 ahead of Michael Lees and Luke Jones, and then starting the final row of the grid, completing your top 40 starters, it will be Mitchell West and Adam Delmont. And that is how our drivers will start for race number 2, ladies and gentlemen. And we are just waiting for the last couple of cars to make their way into position on the grid. And as we do so, well, it's going to be an interesting race number 2, no doubt about it. And everybody right now be absolutely itching to try and push on. And what is going to be most likely dry conditions here. And I would imagine, with the fact that he's also shed some of the weight out the car, Mikey Doble is going to be one of the drivers to watch, as the likes of Jamie Dory, who'll be starting from the bottom end of the top 10 and knowing that he's got plenty now to do following race number 1's unfortunate conclusion, as all our drivers get themselves into position. Well, the man at the front, and really the hero of race number 1, Isaac Doble, will be the one that many will be keen up to see whether he is able to bring it home with a great result following what was that great start in race number 1 of the day. Lee Horn as well up there towards the front of the grid, but I can't quite see Isaac Doble's car at the moment. I do wonder if they are able to get it out. Perhaps the car's experienced a technical issue of some description. If so, that is going to put him away down. Also, we're still waiting on Joseph Doble, but I'm not seeing Isaac Doble listed here, and if so, that may mean that as a result we could be seeing Joseph Doble start as your pole sitter, albeit the lead spot on the grid will be vacant. I should also point out, ladies and gentlemen, that in race number 1, and thank you to Andrew Pike for feeding this information to us, Wojciech Swirydowicz and Michael Lees both decided to start race 1 on slicks, and that explains why the results did not go their way. Unfortunately, another piece of data we couldn't quite have available to us. But again, thank you to Andrew Pike for feeding us that information. That's been very helpful, no doubt about it. And well, I get the feeling most of the drivers in this race will be starting on what will be the dry compound, in the fact there's no rain and that water is gradually shifting off the circuit. But right now, with only a couple of drivers left to get into position, well, Isaac Doble, in fact, Isaac Doble is here. He's just got to get the car onto the grid. Now, we just double-checked our driver data, and, well, we are just waiting for the last couple of drivers to get into place. And it's Isaac Doble and Joseph Doble who are the last to make the one through. So we could have a vacant front row, and if so, that would mean that the pole position would fall to this man, Benjamin McCluskey. And, well, you can see there, everyone absolutely itched to go green flag racing. And there is what is Isaac Doble taking that front row spot on the grid. Joseph Doble with him. So we have got everybody on the grid now, ladies and gentlemen, and we are just waiting for the lights to go on. And as the gridding process completes, the lights are now going on, and after the incredible race number 1, it's going to be another 5 red lights for race number 2. It's lights out and away we go for the second time today here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. And as Isaac Doble gets away, it's a great start. Meanwhile, Benjamin McCluskey immediately roaring his way up the inside of Joseph Doble. Lee Horn as well making his way on through into P3. A bit of contact between us because Joseph Doble slightly wide, catch the car in time. Good car control there from the number 11. And as they make the way down in towards the braking zone, will Lee Horn very eager to make progress straight from the start as they all head onto the brakes. And as all our drivers make the way on through, further back, Jonathan Roberts being swarmed by a bunch of pro-ams around him. Sam Bradley and Matt Emmons there. You can see the leading AM driver is AM rival right behind him. No change between the two of them. And further on down, William Kurtler. We find himself in a three-way fight. Ben Altry and Ian Manners. Manners having to go up the inside there into Palmer versus what is Altry. A little tap between Kurtler, losing the rear of the car. Catched it in time, but no grip available. And Kurtler right now settling down as Wojciech Swirydowicz already up to P24 for a P31 start. But as everyone makes their way on through the Agostini hairpin, Andrew Pike finds himself in a bit of a side-by-side fight as they make their way in towards Hamilton, and he's battling with Jamie Dory. Dory getting ahead there, coming through the left-hander, but I would imagine as they make their way to the right now, Pike will have a bit of an overspeed here to try and take the fight back into Oggies, and not quite so in fact. Dory goes a bit deep, Pike gets the better run, but comes out a bit too wide, can't quite cut it back in time, and I think Pike trying to set himself up for the run here, all the way around onto the back straight, which would make sense. The only problem is the fact that he was thwarted coming out of Oggies in towards Williams, and that is going to give Dory enough breathing room to just carry the momentum all the way up towards what will be the Brundle into Nelson complex. But as they come on down the back straight, you can see now everybody in the long line of stern formation. A couple of drivers starting to look for moves. Matthew Addy there looking up the inside of Russell Fowler in the battle of the two Audis. Some cases with next gen red and white car. They go inside to outside. Fowler gives them the space to breathe, but as they make the way off the corner, now into bomb hole they'll go. Addy's still there. Fowler's not giving in either. Fantastic racing between the two of them here. Neither driver relenting, and Addy will just naturally take that outside and take the lead position going into Crime Corner. But Russell Fowler, credit where it's due, did not give in, and in the end Matthew Addy just outpacing him in towards the next right-hander as they now come towards the end of the lap. And well, after one lap, it's been a phenomenal lap. Everyone safely made it through, and as they head on to lap number 2, Isaac Doble is your leader, albeit only by 3/10 over Benjamin McCluskey. Joseph Doble in P3, Lee Horn P4, Mikey Doble already up to P5 and roaring his way on through after gaining the best part of 3 places. And then Jamie Dory, followed by Andrew Pye. Duncan Ryan, your prime leader, P8, with both Matthew Sheraton and Toby Pross having poor starts respectively. So Duncan Ryan is absolutely on the attack now as Gavin Garner, P9, and Matthew Sheraton looking around the outside at P10 as they head through the right-hander of turn at number 2. These drivers right now staying as they were. Gavin Gardner getting himself into the fight and enjoying getting into this tussle, but as they make the way into Palmer Corner, you would imagine that Sheraton and what is Gardner right now, they may be too wide on the entry, but come the exit, it's Sheraton who gets ahead of Gardner's made to fall back to P10 in the AM class, and Sam Bradley is still your leader after one lap. He's P18. Second place in the hands of Matt Evans, currently in P21 as they head on through Agostini. We're coming through a left-hander, and Sam Van Olst side by side with Ben Ultria. Ultria right now trying to bring himself back into this race, and will coming out to left-hander in towards Hamilton they'll go, and the Belgian Van Olst on the outside, they're losing the position, losing the ground, and I think just finding himself out of momentum at this point and trying to get himself back in a rhythm, and well, it's very hard to do in dry, let alone these wet conditions, and right now Van Olst will look to try and recover as soon as possible. But speaking of recovery drives, Wojciech Swirydowicz, a man who's on a mission to try and recover his way out the order afterwards that gamble on the tyre compound not working out in race number 1, so this time I think he's gone up with the same tyres as everybody else, and as they make the way on down the back straight chasing after Ian Manners, we'll be hoping for a bit more fortune to come his way and to gain a few more places. Keep in mind of course that after this race we will have the partial reverse grid race that could be anywhere from between P13 and P23, and ideally you want to finish inside the top 13 of race 2 to guarantee you are in that reverse grid. The lower the number position you finish, so ideally you want to be in the top 16 as a minimum, you practically guarantee you're in that reverse grid, given the fact that the average number that we typically see pulled is 16 or 17, but you never know what could happen. A P23 could come up, as meanwhile Mikey Doble is coming up the ranks here as he looks to battle side by side, 3 wide on the exit, going on to the start finish straight, down the centre straight they go. Mikey Doble close to the pit wall as he'd like to be. As they come in towards turn 1, in the middle is Lee Horn, on the outside is Jamie Dory, and Horn here will have the reverse Moses manoeuvre pulled on him. He was in the middle of the trio, and in the end backs out, but decides to try and cut to the inside for Riches versus what is both Dory and Doble. He can't quite find it, and now here are 2 of the most decorated NXTCC drivers going toe-to-toe. Mikey Doble, of course, the 3-time champion versus Jamie Dory, who in himself is what is a 3-time champion, and as they make the way on out, and Wojciech Swirydowicz being the only other driver to take a crown, and well, in fact, a 2-time champion, I should say, for Jamie Dory. Swirydowicz being a 1-time champion when we get the mathematics correct, and as they make the way on through, with 3 titles right now to Jamie's 2, and Jamie would always like to get the upper hand on him, no doubts about it, but as they come in towards Agostini, it is Mikey Doble who is the one who puts himself in front. And as they make the way off of the Agostini hairpin in towards Hamilton, Isaac Doble right now with teammate Joseph behind. Will both of these drivers both feeling the success ballast in the car, no doubt about it, and McCluskey a little bit closer and still trying to pounce here. He's got slightly less weight by comparison, not much of a difference, but that difference is still notable. Every kilogram matters, and as they come through Williams, onto the back straight they go. Well, right now McCluskey, is he close enough to consider a move here as we ride on board? You can see all the spray coming up off of Joseph Doble's car, but will he be able to look for the move here in towards turn number, what is their turns 8 and 9. Well, he's going to go for it. McCluskey tries to inch the door open, but in the end it's not going to be, and he's made to wait there as the Doble brothers just simply hold formation for now, and Benjamin McCluskey made to wait a little bit longer to get alongside. But from then we look a bit further down the order. This is Ian Manners battling with what is teammate Michael Lees just in front, as we've had a car go very wide. That's Ben Altria who finds himself out of the grass again. What is Rundle into Nelson? Well, the Nelson corner really frustrated Altria. Now, was he aided this time? We're not quite sure, but the 504 driver definitely having a frustrating time at Snetterton, and will full tilt with Motorsport, just not having any fortune in the second half of the season so far. But Altria will bring it back together. But now he knows he's got even more work cut out for him as he makes his way towards the end of lap number 3. As he brings the car on through the left-hander of Murray, and you can definitely tell the dirt of the tyres there costing him any rotation that he'd like. Meanwhile, in the foreground, that's Matt Emmons battling side by side with Michael Lees. And as they head in towards turn 1, the prime driver going around the outside of the AM, and Emmons here, well, he's losing sight of Sam Bradley, but at the same time, Emmons will be very happy to take a triplet of P2s if he can today. And well, you never know, if he finishes P23 and the number 23 is right, he could be starting on pole for the final race of the day. But then he'll be only focused on one thing, and one thing alone at the moment, is getting the car home in order to bag the points, and that's the most important thing. As they make the way in towards Palmer, but coming in towards that left-hander a bit further back. Jonathan Collins fighting with Alan McCain, with Mitchell West not too far behind, and in front of Collins is William Kurtler, as it's going to be Collins who dives up the inside of McCain. He doesn't want to let Kurtler get away whatsoever, albeit McCain right now would love to make some progress. He wants to go hunting after Luke Jones, who's a couple of places up the road. So therefore, this Aaron Prime squabble definitely reaching its boiling point at the moment, and Jonathan Collins there maximises his braking point. A lovely dive to the inside versus William Kurtler who Agostini. Collins gets it stopped and up into P3 in the AM class there, P30 overall. And will Jonathan Collins, who was one of the favourites going into this season, he may have fallen a little bit away from the top 3 of the championship as the season has gone on, but he's demonstrated his favourite credentials there once again, as he has proven to be one of the best drivers under braking in the AM class in the Whiskey Runners Racing Veloster, and we're getting it absolutely nailed on there at the hairpin. But as he heads on through onto the back straight, we'll now try and break away from Kurtler as quickly as possible. From them, looking back towards the front of the field, and we look off of the rear. On the number 65, Isaac Doble struggling for grip. They're going for a bomb hole corner, and Joseph Doble's going to look to the inside as they make the way through. 2 wide they go. Benjamin McCluskey wants to try and make it 3 wide cover through Coram corner, but I don't think that's going to be feasible here. And I think McCluskey will have the common sense to back off. But look at Mikey Doble, who sweeps around the outside to the inside, gets an elbow in there. But McCluskey is going to try and go between the 2 leading Doble brothers. He goes to try and part the seas, and as he makes his way, he gets a nose ahead. And it is Benjamin McCluskey who now leads going into lap number 5, as it's going to be 3 wide behind. And that's Dory on the outside. In the middle of the road, that's Mikey Doble. And I believe Josie Doble tucks into the inside and falls back behind, as now Isaac's going to have brother Mikey looking up the inside for Rich's corner. McCluskey leading this race right now, and how on earth they're making this stick, it's absolutely incredible. But it's testament to their driving ability as they come down to the brakes. Up the inside goes Doble, absolutely launching it is Mikey Doble versus Benjamin McCluskey up the inside towards turn number 2, and as they come in towards turn 3, well, McCluskey's going to put himself in the middle of the road, get the elbows out, absolutely brilliant battling, and as they roar the way through the left-hander, Will McCluskey holds on for now, but I think it's a question of when, not if, Mikey Doble can look to make another attack, because right now, in that number 88, Mikey Doble is absolutely fired up, and this transition away from the heavy wet conditions to what is a drying circuit, indeed we are overlapping 5 seconds a lap faster now than we were in race number 1. Mikey Doble is enjoying these conditions, no doubt about it, and those grip levels, he's finding them all over the circuit. But as they make the way out of Hamilton and in towards Oggie's corner, we're still nose to tail for McCluskey versus Mikey Doble. Isaac Doble right now trying to keep Jamie Dory behind, and I think that weight will be taking its toll on the number 65. And as they come through Williams' corner, we can see that gap is becoming a little bit more pronounced as Isaac Doble understeers wide on entry. Does get late apex in the end, but loses some time. And as they power the way down, well, now it's going to be Dory looking around the inside to outside line as they head underneath the gantry or the exit bridge to coming towards the circuit. If you're a Spectator, and as they make the way into left-hander, Wojciech Doble, he's got the pressure with Dory looking inside to outside. Dory fully committed to the move, makes Isaac go high in the apex curve, and Jamie Dory will take P3 there, and a bit of classic pressure from the Next Gen Pink driver, just makes the number 65 fall back there, and Isaac Doble, to be fair, right now, if he can hold on to a position inside the top 5 by the end of this race, I think he'll consider that an achievement in of itself, given the pressure that's being mounted all over the circuit on him. Meanwhile, further behind in the prime lead battle, Duncan Rice, who's P8, the Goldwyn Motorsport Audi, entailed by the gold, white and black livery. Well, now he's got the pressure of Toby Brosser, Matthew Sheraton, the two Aztec Racing drivers who finished 1-2, albeit the opposite way round. Sheraton ahead of Brosser in race 1 in the prime class. They're now looking to come back versus Moraes, but keep in mind the success balance will be in the favour of Moraes, but Brosser does seem to be the fastest of the trio, regardless of the weight in the car, and as they make the way in towards Rich's corner and reach the halfway point of this race, there's still more to come between them, as being well off camera, Wojciech Swirydowicz up to P20, having started P31, so he's making some more progress, and his next target will be Sam Van Olsen P19. As Brosser comes out the right hand there of Palmer. Right now, no way past Moraes at this time, and everybody's staying nose to tail at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if there's an opportunity brewing at some point, or would Sheraton potentially be looking for the move here? Perhaps his patience may wear a little bit thin if he feels as though it's getting later and later into the race. Here's Van Olsen versus Swirydowicz for P19. Swirydowicz on the outside of the Semper Racing Honda finds the grip, finds the traction, and makes quick work on the number 92. And Van Olsen right now will be tucking in behind and hoping he can use Swirydowicz to pull him closer to James Smansaskow, who's P8 in prime. Van Olsen's P9, but Smansaskow is up in P17, a bit further up the road, as you can see there as they head in towards Hamilton. As they come into left-hander. Meanwhile, this is Emmons versus Collins. Now, they're battling for P2, but Emmons there coming across the grass. I wonder if there was a bit of contact for Matt Emmons, because Collins has made his way into P2. Mitchell West into P3 in the AMS. And, well, West, who started from the very back of this field, keep in mind, so he's gained the Goliath share of the places in the AM class, are doing very well. The Australian driver right now up onto the AM podium if things were to finish as they currently stand, and he's chased after Jonathan Collins, who is 9 tenths ahead of him as they make the way on through Williams' corner for the 6th time of asking, but it's all change abreast on them right now as he makes his way down the back straight, and as he does so, well, meanwhile, we look back up the order to McCluskey, who tries to keep Mikey Doble at bay for a little bit longer, and right on board and looking back from the rear of the Next Gen Pink machine. We're looking out the rear window there, just under the spoiler, and you can see Doble all over the back of him. Jamie Dory trying to help out his teammate here, trying to get involved in order to give McCluskey some breathing room. But I think Doble right now is not worried about Dory behind and only focused on one thing, and that is trying to make the move here as they roar the way onto the next lap. Fastest lap of the race, 2:13.990 for Jamie Dory. So this track is continuing to improve in terms of its condition. It is getting faster. We've seen our first 13 of this race now, and as they head down towards turn number 2, well, McCluskey's still there, and Mikey Doble not close enough this time, but this could all be part of his strategy to try and get involved with a bit of a love tap there to the rear of McCluskey's car. Just shakes him about a little bit, says, "I'm here," and of course that is an attempt to get into McCluskey's mind. Meanwhile, we look further back and you can see that Andrew Pint battling side by side with Lee Horn going in towards Palmer corner to where they enter. Pint trying to go all the way around the outside, and I think being made to go a little bit deep, but in fact Horn there can't carry the line, gives Pint the space. Andrew Pint moves up into P6, but here comes Duncan Rise, who's trying to go around the outside of Horn. This is a track position for overall position only, but he's got to be careful as the Goldwyn Motorsport driver, because keep in mind, the more he battles with Horn, he'll leave himself open to Prosser and Sheraton to come right back at him, and that's Paul Sheraton and Prosser right within 3 tenths of him as they make the way up towards what will be Oggie's corner. And here comes Prosser, looks to the inside, it's a feint, tries to sell the dummy to Duncan Moraes, but Moraes not falling for it, and as they make the way on through, well, meanwhile, up the inside, coming from Williams' corner, that is going to be Mikey Doble looking for the move on Benjamin McCluskey, but McCluskey gets the better run on the outside, but Doble right now finding more and more confidence, and Dory's going to come up behind McCluskey and give him a little bit of a bump to move him along, try and keep him ahead for now, just before they head into Brundle into Nelson, but in the end, Dory backs off, Doble retakes P2, and McCluskey still leading as they make the way up towards Coram via Bombhole, but as they come through the right-hander, it looks as though here, McCluskey right now just cannot find a way to stabilise this gap or break away, and Dory, as much as he's trying to intervene, it is Doble who is the one who's putting the pressure on the lead leader, and indeed not the challenger, being pressured by the leader's teammate from behind. But coming on through Coram onto the brakes, they'll go one more time here, and as they head around to lap number 8, 4 laps to go when they reach the line, we see there Doble again all over the back of his rival as we jump on board, and we'll figure him out where to position himself. Does he go to the inside? Does he try to squeeze the wall? No, McCluskey covers that off. So Doble's going to look around the outside. Will he try and throw the dummy here by trying to make the move all the way round? He's going to go for it. He's going to commit to the narrative here of going around the outside, and as he does so, well, Doble does get ahead for a brief moment. McCluskey's still there as they head into Wilson Hairpin. Onto the brakes they go through the right-hander, and well, McCluskey gets it hooked up, but Doble on that outside line finds a little bit more traction. I think Doble could have this coming into Palmer Corner. He has got the inside line, albeit McCluskey's still there. It's going to be a reverse situation now, and McCluskey just holds on or thereabouts as they make the way out of turn number 3. Brilliant racing between this trio as they make the way onwards towards Agostini, and Dory again now trying to look around the outside of Doble, trying to get into his head. And it's Joseph Doble a little bit further behind, 1.6 seconds back, not quite in this fight at the moment. And here goes Dory looking at battle with Mikey in towards Hamilton, but as they head through a left-hander in the end, Dory having to back out once again, and well, Dory just cannot find a way to make the 2 wide stick for longer than a single quarter, and that is the frustration. Oh, goodness me, and it's getting very testy between them now, as it looks like McCluskey a little bit slow on the draw coming out of Oggy's corner, calls Doble to check up, and Dory tapping Doble on the rear. Oh, no malice meant, but right now these three absolutely running bumper to bumper, and you love to see it. Meanwhile, from them we look back to the AM podium battle, and this is a P2 between Mitchell West, who we're focused on here as the attacker, chased after second place by Jonathan Collins in their fight for P29 overall. Matt Emmons has fallen behind this, of course. He is the best part of what is a second or so back, albeit Emmons has just had a run wide Oggy's corner, so that has enabled Nick Clements to get in front of him. And meanwhile, Piotr Jegosleski under pressure here from William Kurtler. This is for overall position only, P33. In the battle of the 2 Audis, and Jegosleski, well, this is the lowest we've seen him for some time in terms of his overall position. I think he still enjoyed himself out there, but the problem will be that Kurtler's going to look up the inside here under braking, can't quite find it. Jegosleski will hold a track position for now, but I do wonder how long it'll be before Kurtler looks over. Jegosleski in there is going to take too much apex curve. Rejoins, oh goodness me, and that is not a rejoin he's going to be very proud of, as Kurtler has been sent to the tyre barrier, and will the Aztec Racing driver be absolutely fuming as that's his race in tatters. Given the smoke coming from the car, that will definitely be coming into the pits at the end of this lap, if not sooner. If he can bring it through into the pits, that will save him going a lap down. But meanwhile, we look back to the front of the field with 3 to go, and McCluskey, Mikey Doble and Dory still all together here as they make the way upwards towards turn number 3. Joseph Doble and Isaac Doble, P4, P5, just watching on in the wings. Meanwhile, Andrew Pike still holding on to P6 with Lee Horn all over the back of him. And well, we're looking from the rear of the number 57 for the Sim Racing Collective, and those the unmistakable headlights of the next gen machine of Wojciech Horn as they make the way down towards the Agostini hairpin. Onto the brakes they go, and this time Horn backs out slightly there. Pike just simply able to outbrake his rival and feeling a bit more confident, going deep, getting the car rotated, and then slamming the throttle down to head in towards Hamilton for the 9th time of asking. Powering their way on through the left-hander. And as they do, we look back to Gavin Gardner, who right now has Matthew Sheraton just in front of him. Gardner frustratingly outside the top 10, the next gen pink driver being made to sit behind the prime trio of Sheraton, Prosser and Moraes, leading from P3 to P1 in their class. But as they come through the right-hander of Williams Court, you can see how Gardner just having to wait his turn and really meeting his match in terms of this trio. As they make the way up towards the second half of the lap. Well, right now, Gavin Gardner just waiting, playing that patience game. You never know what could happen in the last couple of laps here, but plenty of fighting inside and outside of the top 15. We'll try and keep you abreast of where we can. Speaking of which, Bedell Trier looking for the move here on Sam Smith for P25. This is for P14 in the prime class, so some extra points in the prime class standings. Will be a lot of damage on Smith's car. It must be said, the front right wheel arch from the driver's perspective, front left from your camera's perspective, and Trier in the end does sail his way up the inside there to confirm P40 in the prime class. His next target will be another iRacing Esports car. It'll be Alan McCain in a Lantra on a Lantra action as the 504 continues on its way around the circuit. But as he does so, meanwhile, we look back to Marcel Fritsch on the back of Patrick Falconer, the WS Racing Esports driver, who's only got about half a second between himself and Roy Plummer as Falconer goes deep. Well, it's going to be Fritsch and also Plummer who make the way through, albeit a compromised line there for Ryan Plummer. That's going to cost him some time in chasing after the Austrian in front of him, and therefore the Briton right now had to steady himself back down again as they come towards the end of this lap. But lovely awareness of all the drivers involved there. Misfortune for Patrick Falconer, but he was able to get it back on and carry on the race. But speaking of carrying on the race, as our drivers make their way onto the penultimate lap, our leader already there, and McCluskey holding on. And it has to be noted that Mikey Doble has not tried to go for the move over the last couple of laps, and I wonder whether this is all part of the strategy to potentially cool the car down slightly, particularly those wet tyres, and therefore give himself the opportunity in order to be able to go on the pounce or be aggressive on that final lap. Perhaps lull McCluskey into a full sense of security. As you can see Dory coming off of the racing line for a brief moment, trying to make Mikey feel as though there's something potentially coming his way, but Dory too far back in order to make a move happen. But here comes Mikey Doble looking around the outside at Oggies this time. A bit of an unconventional place to go for it, but this has caught McCluskey by surprise. A bit of a tap between the two of them as they head to Williams Corner. They survive it just about, and as they make their way onto the Bentley straight, well, Mikey Doble just throwing these little moves in out of nowhere. Meanwhile, off camera, I can tell you Mitchell West has taken P2 in the AM class, as Jonathan Collins had a major off that's re-promoted Matt Emmons up into P3 in the class. We're keeping an eye on that off camera at this moment. We're staying with the lead battle here as they make the way through West Brundlewood to Nelson for the 10th time, and as they do, well, Jamie Dory so close right now as we ride on board here with the number 13. Wojciech Swirydowicz has moved up to P16 off camera, getting ahead of Jake Pitt as he continues his way up the order, but as Dory stays close here, well, right now for Doble, it's all about just trying to unsettle McCluskey. Looking around the outside at Coram Corner, we'll tuck back in here on what is that much more U-shaped style line, and as Dory makes his way off the brakes and onto the throttle, one more lap to go here, and McCluskey right now leading by only 2 tenths if that, as they head on to lap 11 of 11 in this race, and as they power their way up through the gearboxes. McCluskey right now is absolutely under tremendous pressure to try and hold on for this overall win, but Doble has got something to say about it as he's right on the rear bumper of his rivals. They come through Rich's corner, and I think there's going to be a move coming up shortly. Will it be one that can stick, however? Well, Doble's going to look around the outside, using the stronger brakes of the Honda to his advantage. McCluskey meanwhile using his authority on the inside to simply say no you don't. There's still plenty more corners to come, and that's the thing about the Snetterton circuit. You can make overtakes happen at any corner here. That's what makes it such a challenging circuit, particularly when you're running this close with your rivals. And as they head off a Palmer corner, well, right now Doble's there, 1.5 tenths of quarter exit. McCluskey's going to be made to go very tight under braking here. Doble looking around the outside, onto the brakes they go. Dory still watching on, the same for Joe Zidole and Isaac Doble, with Joe Zidole being a second back and trying to get closer to this battle. McCluskey doesn't will under the pressure, and as they switch their way up towards Hamilton right now, McCluskey still there, trying to rob the opportunities, but he's got to be mindful of the fact that Doble knows where to put the car on the outside. Into the brakes over Oggies they go. McCluskey leaves the door open. Doble doesn't even think twice about it. He goes all in on the brakes as Chavosky goes off the road to avoid the leaders, and that's going to Doble getting ahead into Williams Corner. As they come up through the right-hander, now will McCluskey have the toe all the way down. We'll keep in mind that Doble's going to be in a much lighter car in terms of the success balance, and therefore McCluskey's straight line speed advantage versus the Honda will be compromised. But goodness me, here comes Dory, I should say. And as they make the way through the corner in towards the left-hander, well, right now Mikey Doble is going to hold on as Dory and McCluskey fight over position. Doble goes a little bit deep, however, and as he comes off the apex, well, here comes Dory. It's too wide on corner entry into the bottom hole corner, but Doble's going to hold the outside. Will we have enough? Dory in the end, a little bit of a tank slap there, a tiny tap between the two of them, sends Dory sideways, brings McCluskey back up into P2, and as they come around through Coram Corner, Doble is going to lead this into the final corner. Down into Murray he comes. It's incredibly tight between the top three, but off of the left-hander, it looks so Doble's done it, and after an absolutely brilliant 11 laps of battling, the checker flag waves, and it's Mikey Doble who is going to take victory in race number 2 ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, with Jamie Dory P3, Josie Doble P4, Isaac Doble P5, Andrew Pipe P6, head of Leon. Duncan Rice will hold on to the prime win P8 ahead of what is Toby Prosser and Russell Fowler, the Goldwyn Motorsport driver, fending off that intense pressure all the way to the line. Andy Fox P11 best of red. Sam Bradley will make it 2 wins out of 2 in the AM class come the checker flag for SO and Next Gen Gold, with the runner-up spot going to Mitchell West in the AM class ahead of Jonathan Collins, you can see there in the rear of the picture. So that's your top 3 in the AMs all the way through the P29. Metterman's completion top 30 at the checker flag, but missed out on the AM podium this time around. And we still got some more drives to come on through. And here comes Marcel Fritsch, who makes it P32 for WS Racing Esports, ahead of Roy Plummer. And well, as they cross the line there, fighting hard, but Fritsch will take the final top 5 spot in the AM class. Lou Jones P34, Craig Tillison P35, and then we will shortly have Patrick Falconer coming on home for P36 for JW Motorsport as he brings his race to a close. And then it will be, last but not least, a little way to go for William Kurtler, who's down in P37 and making his way through Coram Corner. But as he does so, well, he'll be your last lead lap finisher, and with it taking P8 to the AM class, with misfortune besetting Costa Chatscott-Dantzlu, who will not make it to the checker flag. But here comes Kurtler to wrap up our finishing field of 37 drivers on the lead lap, with Slamir Jaworski finishing a lap down at the checker flag. We did see him step aside for the lead battle on the closing laps. But as they cross the line, well, here is your race winner, ladies and gentlemen, Mikey Doble. And well, as he rapidly makes his way to the pit lane, he wants to get out of that car to celebrate. There's no doubt about it. What a race. And Handsome Stu puts it absolutely perfectly in the YouTube chat. That was a great race. Unreal battling at the front. Incredible respect shown. I mean, in the end, it all came down to a move into what was Oggie's corner from Mikey Doble to take the lead, and then Jamie Dory looking for the move into bomb hole corner, but a tiny bit of contact and a bit of power oversteer, upsetting the car, and in the end, Mikey Doble was the one to bring on home an absolutely brilliant race victory as he comes into the pit lane. And as he does so, well, Benjamin McCluskey a bit further behind, completed a run to P2, a well-deserved P2. He'll be gutted to have missed out on the win, but still know he gave it everything, and Jamie Dory completed at the overall podium. Behind them, Duncan Rise taking P8 there, the Goldwyn Motorsport driver with absolutely relentless pressure arrayed on him by the Aztec Racing pair of Toby Prosser and Matthew Cheverton. Prosser in the end finishing P2 in the Prime class, just behind him P9 overall, and Russell Fowler completed that top 10. As for Matthew Cheverton, not quite sure what happened to him on those closing stages, but I can tell you Sam Bradley was a little bit camera shy there before he comes in to the pits. And most of our drivers already into the pit lane. Mitchell West there as well for Mitch West Performance, and then Jonathan Collins completing those finishing positions on the podium. But as all the drivers have come into the pit lane, well, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards inquiries, and here they are. Mikey Doble taking victory then after an incredible 11 laps of racing by 1.5 tenths of Doble Sim Racing over the Next Gen Pink pair of Benjamin McCluskey and Jamie Dory. Joe Doble taking P4 for Doble Sim Racing ahead of teammate Isaac Doble. So top 5 for all the Doble Sim Racing team. That'll be a huge injection of points in their team championship campaign. And Andrew Pike, P6 there for the Sim Racing Collective, doing well to beat Lee Horn in the fight for P6, with the same case for Next Gen driver just behind. Duncan Rise, a further what was 1.7 seconds behind the top 7 in P8 for Goldwyn Motorsport ahead of Toby Prosser for Aztec Racing, and Russell Fowler rounding off the prime podium of Duncan Rise, Toby Prosser and himself were a top 10 overall in P10 for Performance Link Esports. Andy Fox, P11 at best the rest for Goldwyn Motorsport. He'll be pleased with that, albeit not quite on the prime podium, but still he'll take the points. Jonathan Robrex, P12 finish, an improvement on his P14 from race number 1, the Valkyrie X-Type driver, keeping his head down and putting in the good work. And Wojciech Swirydowicz making his way from P31 to a P13 finish. The Semper Racing driver will be happy because he'll go into the final race of the day, knowing he's guaranteed to be in that reverse grid, and he'll have no ballast in the car. And could that be a surprise in terms of could he spring a run to victory? Jake Pitt, P14 for Aztec Racing, behind the Semper Racing driver, and Next Gen Peaks Garen Garner in the end, not quite able to finish inside the top 10, but able to finish in the overall points, the last of them in P15. Matthew Sheraton with a late bit of drama, finishing P16 there for Aztec Racing ahead of Sam Van Olst. We had top 20 being completed by James Spacersgal, Michael Leese and AM winner Sam Bradley for SO and Next Gen Gold. Then we have Matthew Addy at P21 there for Sam Case for Next Gen ahead of Ian Manners, with Mark Sykes, Alan McCain and Ben Altrier completing your top 25. Sam Smith and Nick Clemens, the iRacing Sports pair, P26, P27, in their inter-team battle with Full Tilt Motorsports Ben Altrier, but in the end the 504 driver would come out on top. Mitchell West, runner-up in the AM class, a Mitch West performance, P28, and he'll be absolutely jubilant to be back on the podium so soon for the AM class. And then we did see Jonathan Collins, Whiskey Runners Racing, sneaking into the podium positions right towards the end of the AM class, and that being the AM podium consisted of Sam Bradley, Mitchell West, and Jonathan Collins. Matt Emmons, P30, 4th place in the AM class, just missed out on the podium with a late error into Agostini, but still a 4th place will go well for the Verano Motorsport in the driver in his championship campaign. Peter Josledski, P31, first ever racing, and Marcel Fritsch, who round off the AM top 5, just holding off Next Gen Reds. Roy Plummeted, the WS Racing Esports driver. Then Luke Jones, Craig Tillotson, Patrick Falconer, and William Kurtler being your last lead lap finishers all the way through to P37. Behind the Aztec Racing driver, Semper Racing Slavomir Javoski, who finished a lap down and will be classified. Unfortunately, 3 laps down to Adam Delmont, but still will be classified as a finisher. P39 for SRL Next Gen Gold. And our sole retiree from the race, Costa Chatscontinental for 287 Motorsport, 8 laps down and classified as a non-finisher. So 40 starters, 39 finishers, of which 37 on the lead lap. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have got one more race to come, and that is the all-important reverse grid race for race 3 of 3 of the day, and what, another 11 laps of racing coming up shortly. But the big question many of you will be asking is, how exactly did the reverse grid draw turn out? Well, as we cut to the commentary booth, and good evening to you all. I hope you're all keeping well and absolutely loving the racing so far. I can tell you I'm enjoying it, albeit my voice is trying to give way to a small degree, but we're doing everything we can to keep it moistened up as much as possible. Well, normally at this point I would say to you, we've got the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl, and we'll shortly close our eyes and shuffle the balls around. However, the lottery draw was done on the night in the build-up to what was the racing. In fact, I'll be completely transparent with you. I actually took the Next Gen Racing Lottery Bowl to bed with me because I wasn't feeling too well at that point, and I decided to do the lottery draw from the comfort of my bed, having barely any voice. And the number that was drawn at the time was P13. So our lowest number, and that does mean we've got the lowest possible reverse grid, and Wojciech Swirydowicz has earned himself the right to start on pole for the final race of the day. And well, goodness me, with no success ballast in that car, the number 1 driver may not have had a successful race 1, but he definitely had a successful race 2, and surely he's got to be guaranteed on for success in race number 3. Well, we'll have to wait and see, ladies and gentlemen, because all that and more will be coming up in approximately 7 to 8 minutes time. But before then, we're going to step away, but not without a word from our title sponsor for this season, and that being, of course, Doble Motorcycles. We will see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page, or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final race of the day. Race 3 of 3 here at the Snetterton 300 circuit in the county of Norfolk in the United Kingdom. And well, as you can see, the heavens have reopened up. We were having a drying circuit in race number 2, but it looks over here the rain gods are not smiling with regards to our drivers' desires to have a drier circuit. And if anything, they want it to be wetter. And well, as those puddles build, as you can see on the circuit side there, this could be just as wet, if not even more so, than race number 1. And well, could that put a spanner in the plans of a few drivers out there? We'll have to wait and see. But we are approximately only 1 or 2 minutes away from going into the grid for the final time today. And as all the drivers get themselves set up on this grid, well, it is going to be a race to be contended with. As we can see, Phil McDougall saying there, it is typical British weather, no doubt about it. It is a very slippery circuit, and well, for the autumn time of this year in the United Kingdom, you can have any weather from what sometimes is dubbed the Indian summer in reference to very hot temperatures in September and October, all the way through to heavy rain, and sometimes even what is the best part of a month's worth of rain falling in the space of 24 hours. But as we see a little bit of battling there in terms of practice driving to the side by side between Roy Plummer and Wojciech Swirydowicz. Well, this is the man who arguably many will feel as though he's got to have a great opportunity to turn things around from race 1 and started on pole for the final time today. Well, we'll have to find out, ladies and gentlemen, because the checkered flag comes out in this final practice warm-up session. It's time to head to the grid for race number 3. And as our drivers make the way to the grid, we once again can't quite walk you down the grid like we normally would like to, but we can tell you how they're going to line up for the final time today. And well, as we do see a couple of drivers already making the way to position, including Andy Fox, who is going to be starting P3 on this grid. Well, let's walk you through the full 39 car starting order. It is Wojciech Swirydowicz who starts at pole position with that top 13 reverse grid jaw. He's joined at the front row of the grid by none other than Jovan Roberts. We then have on row number 2 your prime pole sitter of Andy Fox, and he's in the company of fellow prime driver Russell Fowler. On row number 3, it'll be Toby Prosser, who has the company of fellow prime driver Duncan Rays. Indeed, those four all fighting hard for position and for the victory in the prime class in race number 2, and they've been rewarded with what is the front 3 rows of the grid for race 3. Lee Horn will start P7 on the grid, joined by Andrew Pike, as their little rivalry continues to make its way into this final race of the day. And your top 10's completed by Isaac Doble and Joseph Doble, with the Doble Sim Racing pair looking to make it 3 top 10s on the bounce, if not 3 top 5s as a minimum. Jamie Dory will start P11, best of the rest in the number 13 car, and he will be in the company of none other than Benjamin McCluskey, his teammate of course, who starts P12 for NXTGEN Pink. And then we'll have started P13, your winner from race number 2, it will be Mikey Doble. Behind Mikey Doble on the 7th row of the grid alongside him will be Jake Pitt, and the Aztec Racing driver will then have the company of what will be Gavin Gardner and Matthew Sheraton behind him, starting on that 8th row of the grid. Row number 9 will go to Sam Van Olst and James Smassersgal, with Michael Lees and Sam Bradley completing your top 20, and Sam Bradley looking to make it 3 and wins on the bounce. We then have on row number 11 what is Matthew Addy and Ian Manners, followed up by Mark Sykes and Alan McCain, and then Ben Altrier will line up on row number 13 in the company of Sam Smith, who starts P26. From them, starting P27, it is Nick Clibbins, and he has got what his teammate there, well not in fact teammate, he's behind his teammate, and he's got the company of Mitchell West starting P28, with Jonathan Collins and Matt Evans rounded off your top 30. Piotr Jaroslawski starts P31 ahead of Marcel Fritsch, with then row number 17 going to Roy Plummer and Luke Jones, and then we will have Craig Tillerson in the company of Patrick Falconer on what will be our 18th row of the grid. And on row number 19, our final full row of the grid, it will be William Kurtler and Slavomir Jarvosky, with Costa Chatskontanantu starting last but not least in what will be P39. So 39 starters for this final race of the day, and we've still got a couple of cars to make their way onto the grid. But as everyone gets set and ready to do so, well, we do look our way back up towards the front of the grid, and in particular, of course, it will be Wojciech Swirydowicz who will be the man who takes pole position for the final time today. He gambled on slicks in the wet conditions of race number 1. It wasn't the right call. Will he pick the right tyre this time time round, given the fact it seems to be a circuit that's getting wetter and wetter. Surely this has got to be a guaranteed wet compound race. Anybody who goes slicks here, well, they've definitely read the forecast the wrong way up, I would say, but we'll have to wait to see whether anybody does decide to go for a mad dash gamble in order to try and pull off some magic. But alongside him, of course, on that front row of the grid, he has got that company, and that company will be in the form of none other, excuse me, a Jonathan Roberts, who will be looking to try and battle with him into the opening corners. But will that be the way it plays out? That will be the question. As our last cars make the way into position on the grid, I believe we've got all 39 in place. We have got the 30-second countdown now before the lights do start to go on. But with everybody set right now, it's 2 Hondas on the front row, and then Andy Fox and Russell Fowler, 2 Audis just behind, and then we do have the Elantra there of none other than Toby Prosser starting P5, and we'll know velocities until what is P11, P12 in hands of Dory and McCluskey. The lights going on, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for race for in as the engines roar. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the final time today as they make the way onwards towards turn 1. Wojciech Swirydowicz gets the start underhand, but Andy Fox has something to say about that as he gets a brilliant run as they head in towards the opening corner. But Fox can't find a way ahead of Swirydowicz, but he can make his way ahead of Jonathan Roberts as they make the way out around, and as they come down towards turn number 2. Now Fox will be looking to go for the move immediately as we had the driver go wide. I believe that was Joseph Doble who's taking the trip to the grass, but he'll bring it back together. And as they make the way through under braking there, with Swirydowicz absolutely nailing it as everybody now concertinas the way through the opening braking zone. Sam Bradley still holding on to the AM lead as they now make the way upwards towards Palmer Corner. But as they do so, any major off tracks for anybody, we are just trying to keep an eye on where the timings are changing. And well, no major loss or gains. Matthew Cheverton down to P20, so he has lost a bit of ground since the start of this race, but otherwise most will drive safely on through and not too much drama so far. Albeit Toby Prosser already trying to make some more progress from P6 here as he looks to go on the offensive versus Lee Horn, with Duncan Rise just in front, and Duncan Rise in fact having a brilliant start to this race. Oh, goodness me, as soon as I say that, Sam Smith being speared out across the road onto the grass, and that is on the exit of Agostini, and I believe he was in contact there with, I'm not sure if it was Matthew Cheverton or James Spencer-Scal, but around that group of cars, but he's found himself beached on the grass. Andrew Fox, meanwhile, well, he's been off there at what looks to be Oggie's corner, unless I'm mistaken. In fact, that's not Oggie's, that's coming out of Hamilton, that he's had a spin by looks of things, and was he tries to get back together. In fact, that was Oggie's. I was right the first time round, and Fox right now battling with Sam Bradley with the company of Ben Altria just behind, so it's not been the start he's wanted. Car going slowly there for James Spencer-Scal as well. I believe Spencer-Scal went off track on the exit of Williams Corner. So these conditions catched out, drives another driver off in the rear of the picture. That's Roy Plummer, who we briefly saw at the top of the camera, taking a trip to the grass. So everyone right now being caught out here by a circuit that's definitely not offering anywhere near as much grip as they would like as they make the way on through Nelson. I think everyone now safely on through the trickiest corner on the circuit, or combination of corners on the circuit. And meanwhile, Wojciech Swirydowicz still leading this race, 6 tenths clear drive from Rob Rex, and the Valkyrie X-Type driver, towards a relatively slow start, I should say, is now starting to build up some momentum as they come towards the end of lap number 1. But Swirydowicz, as you can see, really right now just trying to test where the grip is and where the optimum speed can be found as he comes towards the end of lap 1. So after 1 lap of racing, it's Swirydowicz who leads ahead of Rob Rex, followed by Duncan Rise, who's your pro and leader. Then we have Horn, followed by Prosser, who's your second place pro and driver. Then Russell Fowler. And then we do have Jamie Dory, Isaac Dole P8, Andrew Pike P9, and Benjamin McCluskey completes your top 10, with Joseph Doble Best P11 just ahead of brother Mikey as they head on towards this next lap. These conditions absolutely treacherous. They head onto the brakes, and well, that is going to be a move up the inside for Joseph Doble, be Andrew Pike quite slow on the apex there, but Joseph Doble not hindered as much as we thought he might be, and McCluskey will lose the position. Meanwhile, we can see here Prosser battling with Lee Horn, and we're looking to go around the outside, and Toby Prosser finding that grip in spades. He makes his way on out, and now heading down towards Agostini. We've got to look at the inside of Duncan Braze, and it seems though the wetter the circuit gets, Prosser just absolutely comes to life here. And well, the number 41 all over the back of the number 33 right now, keeping it clean, but you can definitely see the pressure he's trying to mount as they make the way in towards Agostini. We're right on board here for the 41 of Prosser, and well, how we can see out that windscreen, that wiper's not shifting the water too well, or the spray, was they head in towards Oggie's corner. And keep in mind that Prosser put the car on pole in what was very tricky qualifying conditions. lost out at the start of race number 1, but I wouldn't be surprised here if he feels like he can potentially chase down an overall win, let alone a prime win. When he makes his way out of Williams' corner, gets an absolute brilliant exit. It's planted as much as you like it to be. I don't think this is a question of if, not when he's going to look for the move. On the inside of Duncan Moraes coming down into Brundle. And as they make the way towards the braking zone here, Moraes on the outside. Is there anything he can do in order to keep Prosser behind? Well, he's going to try and commit to the bit. But Prosser is just able to outbrake his rival. And despite going a little bit deep, gets the car parked up. And Toby Prosser moves into P3. And right now showing no signs of slowing down as Duncan Moraes flashing his lights there, trying to get to his rival's head. But Prosser right now, I think if anything, it's the opposite way round. He's getting into everyone's head with this sensational pace as they head into Goran once more. But you can see there, Moraes is trying to squeeze up the inside. Camera angle a bit deceptive. You thought they would have been a bit closer than they are when the camera pans round, but not to be. And Prosser holds on to that P3. Meanwhile, further down the order, we do look to Joseph Doble, who had a nightmare start off that run wide coming out of turn number 1 on the opening lap, drops himself all the way down to P31. He's trying to fight his way around the outside of Luke Jones for P30, trying to make some progress as Jones loses the rear of the car, catches it, or does he? No, he doesn't. And Jones again goes to the grass but avoids the barrier. So easy to make a mistake, and Jones right now, well, that's going to be a frustrating moment in his race. Meanwhile, Prosser's gained another place. He's been up the inside of Robrix into Rich's corner at turn 1, and Prosser now into P2. One more trial stands between him and an overall win, and that is Swirydowicz, who is 1.2 seconds up the road at this time. But again, catching is one thing, passing is another, as the late great Murray Walker once said. I think for Toby Prosser, he's going to be going up against the best of this field as the current championship standings. And what can Swirydowicz do in order to keep Prosser behind? That will be the challenge as they head onwards towards Agostini, Jamie Dory back with Lee Horn, and these two, of course, had some brilliant racing in race number 1 until it came to tears coming through Palmer corner on the final lap, albeit no malice meant by it, but I suspect right now they'll both be conscious they won't want to repeat of that. And as they come out of the hairpin in towards Hamilton, they'll go. Well, Dory does get ahead there, makes the position count for P5. Horn still with him, but it is going the way of Dory as he makes some more progress. His next target will be Duncan Moraes, and then it'll be Jonathan Robrix in front in order to hunt for P3 on the overall podium. But looking at back here, this is Matthew Addy, who glides his way around the outside. And James Spencer's going into the braking zone for Oggie's corner. I think Spencer's going having a bit of a poor run and coming out of Hamilton corner, and that would have helped Addy build up all that momentum. It drifts a little wide there, coming on through Williams, but catches the car just in time. And there's a fine line between being on the ragged edge of adhesion and losing control, but Addy just being able to teeter back into control of the car there at the last possible moment and not give Spencer's gal an opportunity to come back at him. Altria, meanwhile, going to be a bit of a rub and a bit of a door bump there between Altria and Cheverton, in the end can't get the car stopped and will go straight on the exit of what is Nelson. And well, I think both drivers eager to try and take that inside line. Altria, albeit a little bit of drift there coming through Bombhole corner, but he does bring it back together, and Altria for 40 Motorsport, I think there will be absolutely breathing a sigh of relief that he didn't get escorted onto the grass with Cheverton. Albeit I wonder what the temperament in that car for Cheverton is right now. I don't think he'll be too pleased with what's happened there, but then again, he's still got plenty of race to go, and given the fact this is the slowest pace we've seen for our drivers all day today here at Snetterton, the average lap times at the moment standing around the 2:21 mark. That means there's plenty of opportunities, particularly if the rain does begin to calm down, or indeed just stays at a steady pace. This circuit is not going to get any grippier, and well, with that, it means it's going to be ever harder as Cheverton battling side by side with Addy in towards turn 1, and meanwhile on the outside, that is going to be Spencer's gal who takes evasive action, and Cheverton here right now will definitely, the red mist descends between what is the all red of the same case for the NXTGEN car. There's the racing machine, nose to tail they go in towards what is the hairpin. No change at the moment, albeit Spencer's Scout in steering on the outside there has cost himself some places, no doubt about it, and fallen all the way back to P23. Mark Sykes meanwhile just watches on with the popcorn seat view of this battle as they come out of Palmer corner. And the 666 driver, who's been mostly anonymous of the racing today, in terms of hasn't really been in the thick of it, but right now holding on to P11 in the prime class and just looking to try and get involved when the opportunity materialises. Albeit he's got the pressure of Ian Manners behind, and Manners being 6 tenths down on him. I don't think the number 52 for JW Motorsport is going to sit there for much longer and just watch the rear of the same case with NXTGEN Audi if it can help it. We're going on through the left, and meanwhile out of Hamilton they come and up towards Oggie's corner. We can see the 660 of Spencer's gal still there, rubbing the rear bumper of the iRacing Esports car, Nick Klibitz. And Klibitz there slow through the right hander, and Spencer's gal feels that there's a lot more pace to be taken. And then again, you can only go as fast as the driver in front unless you can find an overtaking move. But Sebastian right now absolutely all over the shop. As meanwhile, pointing in the wrong direction is Matthew Addy, and I think he's had an altercation with Matthew Swirydowicz from what I'm hearing in my ear, and Addy's going to get it turned, gets it off the road, but that's going to be a bit unfortunate as he goes onto the grass. The car's going to drift towards the barrier, but does get it stopped at the end and keeps it going, does not let it get pinned in the grass, and he'll be thankful for that. As meanwhile, racing going on for the AM class here, Tillerson versus Constantu, and well, right now Tillerson trying to hold on towards P32, P7 in the AM class, but Constantu looking up the inside, Joseph Doble watching from behind, and well, Tillerson in the end will go defensive outside to inside, gets the car parked up just in time. Lovely bit of defensive work there from the 34, and well, Constantu is going to have to find another way through. I was getting the upper hand on Tillerson, of course, in race number of the day, albeit they'll go wide. Both drivers going wide there. Joseph Doble will just take the inside line, and Tillerson rejoins Constantu with him, but both drivers there having a little bit of a heart-in-mouth moment. Meanwhile, looking back up towards the front of the field, and we ride on board and look back from the rear of race leader Wojciech Swirydowicz, who's #1 in position and door number currently, but I wonder how long it'll be before that position number's under threat, as that is Toby Prosser all over the back of his rival as they make the way out of the hairpin and onwards towards Palmer Corner they go, and Prosser right now really mounting the pressure. In fact, that last lap of 2:19.98 Prosser was the best part of almost half a second faster than Swirydowicz, and nobody else coming close to breaking into the 2:19s. Everyone else the 2:20s or higher. So Prosser right now absolutely flying out there, and well, if he can take home this overall victory, he'll be adding his name to what is a growing list of prime drivers who've taken overall victories over the course of the NXTCC, and he will become, I do believe, driver number 10 to pick up that accolade. And well, that'll be a special anniversary for what is our prime winners ever since the first ever Pro-Am win at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, being done by Reswap all the way back in season 2, if my memory serves me correctly. But of course, that's been a long time away, and as Prosser continues to mount the pressure on here, he's absolutely jumping at the bit to make a move as they make the way out of Williams Corner. Down the back straight they go, and Swirydowicz here keeps the car centre left. That's going to put him on what will be an inside to outside line, because Prosser's now going to look for the move. He's got the overspeed. He is going to get within half a hundredth as they head on down, and was ahead onto the braking zone. In the end, Prosser goes outside to inside. Swirydowicz is still there. Two of them coming together, and Prosser in the end mounts the curve, which is a very brazen way of making a move. But Toby Prosser in the end gets his start, albeit I think having to rely there to a degree on Swirydowicz, also giving him some space to play with, but still sometimes you've got to go for it. And Toby Prosser, well, goodness me, the man, whether he's absolutely gliding around or whether it's a bump, clang and a shunt, well, right now the number 41 driver showing the right balance between the two and absolutely roaring around the Snetterton circuit. I think the suspension of Alantra will not want to come crashing down to earth like that again anytime soon. But Toby Prosser is your overall leader now, your prime leader with it as we head into the second half of this race, as he crawls into lap number 6. Meanwhile, Duncan Race, the second place prime driver, trying to keep Jamie Dory behind him, and also Lee Horn and Isaac Doble as the long conga line of cars makes its way to Rich's Bend once again. Well, the 33 here for Doble Motorcycles, that Audi RS3, the leading Audi in this grid. The next Audi being Russell Fowler down in P9. Well, I think Ray is absolutely feeling right now the pressure to hold on. Also a bit of success ballast in that car. Not going to help in the 32.5 kilograms of success ballast from his win in race number 2 in the prime class. Well, that he's going to be having similar success ballast to what will be the likes of Jamie Dory and Lee Horn. So therefore, it's going to be evenly matched between them. But it's who can shift that weight the best, and on top of that, keep their cool while doing so. As meanwhile, Sam Bradley just passing Jonathan Collins to retake the AM lead. I believe Sam Bradley having an off-track only moments ago at the end of was lap number 5, and Collins trying to fight it for the AM lead now as they make the way out of Palmer Corner. And Bradley, they're almost sideways coming out of the left-hander. Well, Bradley definitely not afraid to push it to the absolute limit, but perhaps that's why we're seeing Bradley go off circuit and therefore open himself up or expose himself to battling with fellow AM drivers. And Collins right now seems to be gradually inching himself back into this battle for the AM lead. He's got Mitchell West right behind him. As we look behind there, you can see West and Rich West Performance, the Australian driver right behind the Briton as they come out to left-hand and into the right. They'll go for Oggie's Corner, and well, West and Collins, they've now got to decide whether they keep their battling on course now to chase after Bradley, or whether their battling takes center stage and Bradley is able to run away, but only they could be the ones to be the deciders of that. As they power their way onto the back straight, it looks so Collins having a better run out the corner of the two of them. and therefore West right now having to simply look for the ideal line. And I think they're doing a little bit of tyre calling as well, as Matt Evans now started to get a bit closer. And we could have a four-way fight for the AM win come the close of this race of the day, indeed the close of the race in action at Snetterton. And what we have said, this AM class has been incredibly close and feisty all season, and we are seeing 4 of the big championship contenders all involved in that in terms of the battling here right now. Ahead of them, Matthew Sheraton trying to continue on his way in P23. But it is going to be a bit of a struggle for Sheraton, and whether this AM battle can wrap itself around him, that's going to only add another variable to the mix. So you can see there, all 4 drivers all struggling for grip as Collins and West sideways as you go into the braking zone for Murray. Meanwhile, Bradley, a bit of a tame exit there by comparison, and Collins is going to have the run here down the start for the straight. Down centre they go, and in towards Ridges now. Will Collins commit to the move around the outside? Bradley's going to defend in the middle of the road. Make Collins commit to the outside line. Too wide they go into the braking zone, but in the end, I don't think Collins is going to have the adhesion around the outside. We had a car off just in front. I believe that's the car of James Smanson's that's taking a trip to the grass. As they come down into Wilson Hairpin, Bradley defending hard to the inside, car round. That is Slavomir Jarboski, who's pointing in the wrong direction, and well, the car rolling off onto the grass, just waiting to get it started again once the field makes its way through. But Bradley right now defending absolutely as hard as possible here to try and make it 3 AM wins out of 3 today. And well, meanwhile, Collins just staying right there with him, throwing everything, including the textbook of overtaking at Bradley, but Bradley showing no signs of wilting under this pressure. But as they head under the brakes in towards Agostini, meanwhile we look back inside the top 10, and this is Jamie Dory trying to keep Isaac and Mikey Doble, the 2 Doble brothers and Double Sim Racing right behind, but around the outside looks Isaac Doble as they head out of Oggies in towards Williams Bend. And well, Dory here on a compromised inside line. I think this is going to go the way of Isaac, at least on the corner exit, but now this is where it's about getting the traction. You can see Isaac running wide onto the exit curve, no grip there, so quite a bit of wheel spin, and Jamie Dory will get back ahead as they power their way on down the start, not the start finish straight, down the back straight, down the Bentley straight, and well, it's 3 wide as they head onto the brakes. But in the end, it'll be Jamie Dory who does stay ahead as Isaac and Mikey fight side by side on through the right-hander. But which one of the 2 Doble brothers is going to get ahead? It is going to be what is Isaac there, retaking that P6 of his brother, and as they make their way through the right-hander, Isaac they're struggling for grip as they come out of bomb hole corner. Mikey able to run a little bit wide in order to maintain his speed and not make contact. And as they come down through Coram, well, it does look as though Dory right now able to take some breathing room for a brief moment. Andrew Pint just watches on from behind, and Russell Fowler, P2 in the prime class right now. We've got Benjamin McCluskey for company close behind, and keep in mind that Russell Fowler's been promoted with a bit of an altercation for Duncan Ray's earlier on that's dropped it down to P15. So Russell Fowler right now just showing that sometimes you've got to be calm and quiet and consistent, and he can potentially be green over the runner-up spot in the prime class and another overall top 10, albeit these conditions continue to worsen. In fact, this circuit is getting worse and worse, and well, as the drivers make their way around, the lap times now are descending into the 2:19s the majority of the top 10, but I can imagine out there it is getting slipperier by the corner, and therefore it is on the edge of what you're willing to risk in order to bring home that major result. As meanwhile, Sam Bernal's fighting side by side here with none other than Jake Pitt as they come out of the corner. We ride aboard with the number 92 as he heads in towards Palmer, and will go to all on the inside. Or brief moment, there's a bit of contact there between Bernals and Pitt, and in the end Bernals goes around. Pitt meanwhile carries on his merry way as if he's not been impacted at all by it, but Bernals has to bring the car back under control. The whole field behind him comes up and makes quick evasive action, and will thankfully nobody in a major shunt there as a result. But Sam Bernals will be frustrated at that one, and knowing the result has crept away from him now as he brings it back up to speed in P20 or his P11 the prime class. And meanwhile it's all unfolded in the wrong direction for Goldwyn Motorsports. Andy Fox has gone around at Agostini and drops outside the top 20, outside the top 10 of the prime class. Meanwhile, we've also got an off there for William Kurtler, who at the time was running in at P27. So I think with the amount of rain that's coming down at the moment, this circuit is losing the available grip, and a lot of drivers are finding that now they're being pushed onto what is effectively an ice rink for the circuit. The fact that it only takes one loss of traction and you're going to slip off the road. but as Jonathan Collins makes his way on around through turn number 7, coming on through Williams Bend. Well, that was Mitchell West getting the upper end of Collins for a brief moment. They're fighting for P2 in the AM class with Sam Bradley, you can see just in front of him in the SO and NXTGEN Gold Honda Civic Type R FK8. But the problem is, as they come towards the left into right here of what is Brundle into Nelson, with the amount of fighting going on as Collins retakes P2 in the AM class, Bradley is being given an opportunity just to maintain that lead, albeit he's only maintained that lead at 6 to 7 tenths. He's not comfortable in these conditions, and Collins and West are the faster drivers. It seems though West is the fastest of them, but the thing is, if they can't get past their own battling, they're just going to gradually and naturally let Bradley make it 3 wins out of 3, and that's the last thing they want to do with this championship so finely poised. But then again, it could be the way it goes, as they've only got 3 laps to go, including the one they're about to go on to. And speaking of going on to a lap, well, here comes Nick Clemens battling with Sam Knowles as they fight over P9 in the prime class and what is P18 overall. Clemens for iRacing Esports on the inside there into the right-hander of Riches, and Knowles going all the way around the outside, gets it absolutely hooked up. Clemens will try and cut back here into Wilson, but I don't think he's going to have an opportunity as they head onto the brakes. Indeed, Sam Knowles confirms that move and seals the door firmly shut as they head on towards Palmer. We're coming in towards the next set of corners, and from them we look a little bit further back to Joseph Doble, who's trying to break his way into the top 30 a little bit further. He is P30 at the moment. Looking up the inside of Luke Jones, who's P29. The JW Motorsport Veloster goes very deep, and in front of him is Alan McCain. The iRacing Esports Elantra missing the front bumper, and we're not quite sure where that's been lost to or who it's been lost to, but I can tell you it's no longer there, and Joseph Doble struggling to make his way past Luke Jones at this time as they come through the left-hander. Meanwhile, we've had what is Garen Gardner going very slowly. I believe Gardner's had some sort of incident occur and he's got off circuit, and I believe that is on what is the exit of Agostini, so that resets him all the way down to the back of the field in the Exeter car. You can see it's collapsed on the front. He's had to tow to the pit, but Toby Prosser is your race leader. Don't be alarmed at those timing towers if they are glitching, but Prosser is leading this race right now and will lead it by an advantage of 1.1 seconds. And this is exactly what he and the team need for a major result to wrap up the day and bring home what he would have liked to have had at least 2 wins today, given that pole position going into race number 1. But he's at least going to make it 1 win if he carries on this tact. But then again, let's not put the commentator's curse on it, because this race is not over. And the same can be said in terms of going racing for Mikey Doble as he looks to move a job from Rob Rex into Corab Corner up the inside for P3 as the Valkyrie Excite driver tries to hold on, but he's not quite able to, as Doble swipes his way out to the inside in the end, albeit almost losing the rear of the car there as it snake trails its way on through Coram into Murray, but he does get it stopped. But here comes Roberts looking for the move. Doble in the end makes Roberts go the long way round as they power their way on through, but the Valkyrie Excite driver will get ahead, and Jonathan Roberts has been fantastic today. He may not have stolen the headlines, but to be fair, the Valkyrie Excite driver has been very cool in these conditions. He's been in control all the way through and is going to be picking up points in all 3 races. And whoa, oh goodness me, as that gets very testy between Roberts and Doble. Let's Doble rejoin. I think that both drivers there having little moments of their own and in the end making contact with running out of road, but Jonathan Roberts will retake P3, and Mikey Doble under pressure from Lee Horn as Horn looking for an opportunity to try and go around the outside, coming up into Palmer Corner, but that's going to be easier said than done. I don't think he's going to be able to make the move stick here as they come on through. Meanwhile, in the lead battle, Will Cross under pressure from Swirydowicz. Swirydowicz coming back, and there's contact between the two of them as well. Swirydowicz will get ahead briefly, but as they rub and bump their way coming out of Agostini, Will Prosser right now not wanting to give this up at all. Swirydowicz has got other ideas, and they come into left-hander at Hamilton. Now keep it clean, lads. You've got this lap plus 1 more to go, and the last we want to see is the two of you into the grass or into the fence. But as they come in towards Oggies, it's going to be Swirydowicz who puts the rear left tyre on the grass, and in the car goes Stephen Prosser, retakes the lead here as he heads in towards Williams Bend. Mikey Doble, meanwhile, has gone off. He's gone around, and that's at Oggies Corner. He rejoins, but that's put him all the way down to P11. In fact, that's going to put P12 as Drake Pick when he sneaks his way out the inside, and that's just before they head into Williams Corner. And we're not quite sure whether he was aided on his adventure to the grass, whether his own volition is battle with Lee Horn and Jonathan Roberts. What we can see is the 88 driver right now has been forced backwards, and well, with Roberts succumbing potentially to Lee Horn and now Isaac Doble. I think there might have been some contact between Rob Rex and Mikey Doble in order to lead to that, although we can't see any visible damage in either car. And well, Isaac Doble right now trying to find his way past the number 6 of Belgium, but the Valkyrie X-Lite driver trying to hold on. Will not be a podium anymore, but it will be a top 5 and a top 5 overall. He hasn't had many of those this season, but when he's had an opportunity to do so, he's grabbed them with both hands wide open. As he comes down through Coram corner, indeed, all the drivers right now 9. There's one more lap to go, and well, these conditions proving absolutely tricky as they come. Well, Mikey Doble up the inside of the J pit for P11 already there on his brief recovery drive. How far can he go as Pitt looks to go around the outside of the Audi, having the better acceleration? And well, it's going to be a drag race between the two as they come past what is our start-finish line. Indeed, my commentator roof window roaring their way into the opening corner. It's going to be Doble on the inside, Pitt on the outside, and Pitt in the end won't quite be able to force it too wide all the way through. But what he'll do instead is cut back on the run through Riches. It's a lovely bit of technical work from Pitt, but he can't quite get fully alongside of the braking, and the Honda of Mikey Doble in with better brakes is able to get it stopped and hooked up for P11. Meanwhile, Andrew Pike looking to fend off Isaac Doble now up into P5, getting ahead of Isaac in the run in towards Wilson Hairpin. Jonathan Robrix, meanwhile, able to break away as a result of all this. And as they come on down in towards Agostini, I think they're going to be staying there as they were on entry into this corner because nobody close enough to really force a move. Meanwhile, further back, a little bit of story here between William Kurtler and Marcel Fritsch as they fight over P4 in the AM class with Craig Tillerson right behind. So they're not fighting for the AM podium, but they're fighting for the first of the spots outside of the AM podium. We've seen plenty of that today, and it's great to see. But Fritsch right now, caught between a rock and a hard place, and Kurtler getting a better run there off of Wilson Hairpin. That may just be enough to keep him safe, as Tillerson having to fend off Matthew Addy, as the Rhino Motorsport driver does not want the same case for NXTGEN driver interfering in this battle. Meanwhile, that's Russell Fowler as we look to go slowly coming on through what was Oggie's in towards Williams, and there's contact between himself and Pitt, and the two of them going side by side on entry. Pitt trying to force his way out the inside there, but Fowler not having any of it. Well, I think they'll both be having a word with the stewards after this race, and well, Fowler will lose the places to Doug Grace and Benel Trier, as meanwhile Isaac Doble just up the road, battles here with Andrew Pike, and well, it's all coming to a head here as they make the way around on this final lap with the last couple of quarters to go, but Pike will still hold on versus Isaac Doble as they come on through Bombhole corner. Meanwhile, looking to leaders, and will Toby Prosser, he's had to fight hard towards this lead, and with half a second between himself and Wojciech Swirydowicz as they both dance their way through Coram corner. Well, Swirydowicz had a last shot at it in towards Murray, but he couldn't quite find it, and as they power their way to the checkered flag, Toby Prosser flashes the lights. He knows he's done it. Whilst it didn't work out in race 1, he takes victory overall in the prime class in race number 3 of the day, and the Aztec Racing drive is followed up by Wojciech Swirydowicz, who turns his fortunes upside down to a P2 in the end. Lee Horn finishes P3 on the overall podium ahead of Jonathan Robrix, with Andrew Pike P5 ahead of Isaac Doble, Benjamin McCluskey, Jamie Dory, and then Michael Lease P9. And where did that come from for JW Motorsport to take the run-up spot in the prime class? A brilliant drive there from Michael Lease, no doubt about it, to sneak his way up the order. Mikey Doble P10 in the end, and then Duncan Moraes finishes third place of the prime podium. Sam Bradley comes across the line and he takes AM victory for the third time in a row here today for SO NXTGEN Gold. Sam Bradley absolutely unstoppable at Snetterton despite the inclement conditions, P18 overall. Mitchell West holds on to P2 in the AM class in the MP22, and then it will be Matt Emmons who completes the AM podium and makes it 2 podiums out of 3 today, but 3 out of 3 for top 5s when it comes to AMs for Rhino Motorsport. But goodness me, what a race, ladies and gentlemen, as Roy Plummer heads the line in the challenging final race of the day for the number 9 Elantra, where he crosses the line P32, P7 in the AM class, and Patrick Falconer will be your last finisher of this race. All of your finishers on the lead lap, and Patrick Falconer taking P33 when all is said and done. But what a race. This Snetterton circuit, it may have proved treacherous with the conditions, but Toby Prosser was the man who commanded them. Whenever it got damp, whenever the rain started to fall, whenever the circuit was waterlogged, Toby Prosser was the man to beat, and he proved that in race number 3, albeit not without some contentious battling between himself and Wojciech Swirydowicz. But when you go up against the very best out there, sometimes you've got to get your elbows out, and he did exactly that in the 41. Credit where it's due to Swirydowicz, a frustrating gamble in race number 1 to go with slicks rather than wet, and in race number 2 it was all about recovering to P13, and with the number 13 drawn from the lottery bowl, and Swirydowicz in the end taking a P2, which whilst this will be one of his weaker rounds of the season, still some good points to the board, and those points could prove pivotal in terms of taking them away from his rivals. Lee Horn at 3rd place on the overall podium in the end in a solid drive to wrap up his day, and what has been a fantastic time in the United Kingdom for this round for the Sam Case for NXTGEN driver, no doubt about it. And Jonathan Roberts, a special mention there, as he may have missed out on the overall podium, but the Valkyrie X-Type driver seeing his fortunes go upwards, and with that trend he's achieved fantastically here, and some major points for him and the team. Michael Lease with that P2 in the Pram class. I don't think he can quite believe he's been able to pull it off for JW Motorsport. And Doug Ray's finishing 3rd on the Pram podium for Goldwyn Motorsport in what has definitely been a challenging 3rd race of the day, but still some key points secured. We also saw Sam Bradley as he comes into the pits with 3 wins out of 3. A fantastic record here today for the SL NXTGEN Gold driver. When Mitchell West in a bit of an incident coming into the pit lane, I think that car's going to definitely be wounded, and it might need a little bit of a push log towards its pit box, but the Mitch West performance driver did the job when it mattered out on circuit and made it a good couple of podiums in the AM class, and Matt Emmons in the end rounding off that AM podium there, and the AM title fight continues to take a further step towards the season finale. With the fact Daniel Fritz not in attendance today, it means that the scores are definitely going to be levelling off when we consider those drop scores, and we'll give you an update tonight in due course. As the last of our drivers comes into the pits, Roy Plummer making his way on down pit lane. Let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. Well, after an absolutely fantastic 11 laps to wrap up our racing here today at the Snetterton 300 circuit in the United Kingdom, Toby Prosser taking the victory in race 3 of round 7 of season 7 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles for Aztec Racing, and that victory being overall and in the prime class by 7/10 over Wojciech Swirydowicz for Semper Racing. Lee Horn completed the overall podium for Sam Case of the NXTGEN ahead of Jonathan Roberts by the best part of 1.4 seconds, and in turn the Valkyrie X-Type driver doing well to fend off the charge from Andrew Pike for the Sim Racing Collective. Now's your top 5 of Isaac Doble, just missed out on the top 5, but still some great performances for the youngster today, no doubt about it, including that, particularly that win in race number 2. Well, in fact, in race number 1, I should say, with the victory going to Mikey Doble in race number 2, and then Benjamin McCluskey at P7 there for NXTGEN Pink ahead of teammate Jamie Dorey. Michael Lease, P9, your runner in the Pram class for JW Motorsport by the best part of 2/10 over Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing, with that late spin around that was Oggies in the closing stage of the race, costing what could have been a top 5 finish. Duncan Ray's 3rd place finish on the Pram podium of Toby Prosser, Michael Lease himself, at best the rest P11 overall for Goldwyn Motorsport, head of Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport, who fought hard but couldn't quite make it onto what was the Pram podium, but still came close, only 4 attempts out, and you'll know he picked up some good points either way. Russell Fowler, P13 for Performance Link Esports. It all went in the wrong direction in the second half of this race, but still another one of his top 10 performance in the Prime class. In fact, a top 5 performance again in the Prime class. So Russell Fowler continuing to show his place in battling for the top 10 spots in the Championship of the Primes. With Mark Sykes, P14 for Sam Case with NXTGEN, and indeed his best result of the day. Well done to him in the 666, and Ian Manners completing the overall top 15, and those who scored overall points for JW Motorsport there with 15th place. Nick Clemens finished P16 ahead of Matthew Sheverton, whose fortunes went the wrong way in race number 3. And speaking of fortunes that can only go up, Sam Brady making it 3 wins out of 3 for SL NXTGEN Gold in the AM class, and bringing himself right back into contention in the AM Championship battle. James Scout and Jake Pitt, the Aztec Racing pair, round off your top 20 ahead of Sam Van Olst with Mitchell West P22 and runner-up in the AM class for Mitch West performance. And then between him and Matt Emmons, Slamir Jaworski P23, with Emmons completing the AM podium of Sam Bradley and Mitchell Weston himself, and a P24 finish there for Verano Motorsport. Luke Jones was P25 ahead of Andy Fox with Alan McCain P27, William Kurtler P28 there for Aztec Racing, and your top 30 was completed by Matthew Addy and Marcel Fritsch. Craig Titterson at P31 for Verano Motorsport, just behind Marcel Fritsch in the end, but finishing clear of Roy Plummer and Patrick Falconer, your last lead lap finisher, P33. It was a lap down the end for Costa Chatscontinental for 287 Motorsport, 2 laps down to Jonathan Collins, and 3 laps down to both Gavin Garner and Joseph Doble. And then we did see misfortune strike Sam Smith and Piotr Jegoslavski, both retirees on the opening lap and classified non-finishers. So 39 starters, 37 finishers, and in the end we did see 33 finish on the lead lap. And what an absolutely thrilling final race of the day here at Snetterton, ladies and gentlemen. And well, that concludes all of our racing action as recapped from round 7 of the championship. But as time stands still, and indeed we come back to the present, of course, because this has been a post-round broadcast day, well, it does mean we won't quite be catching post-round interviews with our drivers, in the fact they're busy preparing for what is round number 8, which will be tomorrow. But what we can do instead is be up to speed with the provisional championship standings going into round number 8. And as we can see, after all the points were accounted for in the overall drivers' championship, Wojciech Swirydowicz left Snetterton with a slightly reduced lead to the best part of what was their 250 or so points. In fact, to be a little bit more precise, 255 points. But the championship title is still firmly within his grasp, unless he has a majorly foul set of results beset him over the final 3 rounds of the season. Benjamin McCluskey stays in P2 and holds a rather favourable gap over Mikey Doble at the best part of 61 points, but notice how Mikey Doble has moved into P3 and has crept back ahead of both Andrew Pike and also Adam Delmont. Adam Delmont continues to not be on the grid due to technical issues besetting him, and hopefully those will be fixed before the season is over, with Andrew Pike now moving into P4 and continues to chase after his aspirations of a top 3 finish at the end of the season. Lee Horn in P6 meanwhile, 553 points, only 10 clear of Jamie Dory as their battle for P6 rages on, and Isaac Doble moves to P8 on 489 points after that brilliant win in race number 1, plus the results in race 2 and 3 mean that he has picked up the lion's share of the points today alongside his brother Mikey and also Benjamin McCluskey. Andy Fox continues to be the leading prime driver in P9 there on 474 points, 34 clear of Ben Altria, who really had a lot of misfortune today, particularly in races 1 and 2. And Gavin Garner's best of the rest P11, still trying to break his way into the top 10 with 30 points between himself and Aldria. Russell Fowler, Toby Prosser, Matthew Sheraton and Matthew Addy completed your top 15, and then coming out of the top 15 in the overall standings to the Prime Championship standings, here we can see with the points adjusted for the Prime finishing positions, Ben Altria leads by 25 points. He's been able to reopen that lead slightly, but Andy Fox is there and waiting to pounce. Also worth noting, Matthew Addy still within arm's reach, albeit losing a little bit of ground on the top 2. With the results not quite going his way, but in race 3, with the car being pointed in the wrong direction. And Matthew Sheraton in turn has now moved to within 22 points of the top 3 and is continuing to rise on strong. Russell Fowler as well, with a great haul of points today, stays P5 on 655 points and knows that now he's able to mount some pressure on the top 4, and he's also started to pull a little bit clear of Seminoles, who falls to P6 on 630. Toby Prosser leaps his way up into P7 on 606 points, picking up the most points of anybody today, 172 points in his bank account, and he'll be absolutely pleased with that, albeit wondering what could have been if the results had gone his way in race number 1, but still, he won't fret over that too much because James Smassersgal moves into P8 as well, 534 points, 6 ahead of Duncan Rise, and Liam Silkstone, not on the grid today, it sits P10 on 517. It's a further 2 points to Alex Meredith, best of SP 11, then Nick Clemens, Michael Lees, Alan McCain and Tom Davidson complete your top 15 of the Pram class provisionally. And then comes the AM Drivers' Championship standings, and here we can see Matt Emmons returns to the top ahead of Daniel Fritz, with Fritz being absent today, but keep in mind that point gap of what is there, the best part of 43 points, well that is very easily going to sway back and forth should results go the way of one driver or the other. The same for Marcel Fritz and Sam Bradley, the two of them separated by only 9 points, and Sam Bradley has moved his way back over to P4 with a perfect day today, indeed picking up 180 points. He could ask for an extra 5 potentially with the fastest lap in class in race number 3, but still I don't think he's going to be too upset about that for the simple reason he has brought himself right back into the hunt at a critical time. Mitchell West as well, with 135 points gained today, moves to P5 on 738, with Jonathan Collins picking up great points in races 1 and 2, but not to pick up the points in race number 3, and unfortunately for him, it does mean now that he falls to P6. He's not out of the hunt, but he's made his aspirations just a little bit harder to achieve. Roy Plummer sits a further 13 points behind. Continuing to rack up those points is the Next Gen Red driver ahead of Craig Tillerson, with the Verano Motorsport driving his close-knit battle with Mark Kent, who unfortunately, of course, is not expected to be on the grid for the remainder of the season, and Costa Chatscontinental complete top 10. Outside the top 10, it is William Kurtler ahead of Lewis Mason, with Dylan Mystery, Josh Brown and Kevin Smith completing the standings. And then going on to the Teams Championship last but not least, as we'd see Next Gen Pink today, well, they've reopened their championship lead to 303 points over Doble Sim Racing. But meanwhile, the battle for P2 between Doble Sim Racing and SR and Next Gen Gold, it could not be closer, with the two teams separated by 22 points, and Doble Sim Racing suddenly springing their way into P2. And whilst they have got their drop score plus a 0 score in effect, well, Doble Sim Racing knowing that right now they're not giving up all the way to the very end. P4 is in the hands of Semper Racing, who also stay well within reach that P2 position. And when you consider it's only 58 points between P2 and P4, well, this could go any which way. And that's before you consider the likes of Sam Case with Next Gen, who are not too far behind on 935 points, and Aztec Racing are on their heels fast in the hunt for a top 5 finish at the end of this season. Goldwyn Motorsport, they've also got a bit closer to what is the top 5, albeit they fall to P7 behind Aztec Racing, with a gap there of what is the best part of only 16 points between themselves and the British team. Well, it's anybody's guess who's going to be in that top 5, with the Sim Racing Collective of 783 points, and then JW Motorsport and Valkyrie X-Type completing that top 10, and Valkyrie X-Type returning to the top 10 since what was 3 rounds ago. But that is your top 10 provisional in the Teams Championship, ladies and gentlemen, and it does mean it is now time for us to wrap up. So thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's broadcast, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Next Gen Racing community in terms of the series we run and what goes on behind the scenes and who make up the community, well, for all that and plenty more, we do recommend firstly you check out our official website, and that's at nextgenracing.co.uk. And as our website appears on screen now, where it's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and where you're guaranteed a place on the grid or as part of the community here at Next Gen Racing, as we continue to strive for even more success, and we go from strength to strength. There's never been a better time to be a part of the Next Gen Racing community. But if you don't want to go to our website today, perhaps you want to instead follow us on social media, well, the best place to do so is via our official Facebook group, and that is at facebook.com/groups/Next Gen Racing, where you can find out a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes at Next Gen Racing, including what our guys and girls, our staff members and admin members do in terms of both on the virtual circuit and also the real circuit, with a good number of our staff members being at real life motorsporting marshals, if not racing drivers. We'd also like to take a big moment to say a thank you to our sponsors, who do include PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Only Racing, Falconer PC Builds and Support, Benji Sim Photos, and of course a huge special mention to our title sponsor for this season, Doble Motorcycles. If you're looking for a Honda machine on 2 wheels, we'll look no further than Doble Motorcycles, the family-run dealership that is the #1 Honda motorcycle dealership in the whole of the United Kingdom. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, attention now turns to what is round number 8. And of course, the wonderful treat for you guys and girls tuning in is the fact that it's tomorrow, and it will be live from circuit side at the one and only iconic figure of 8 circuit, developed and designed by John Hugenholtz, which is the Suzuka circuit in Japan. On Tuesday the 24th of September 2024, the championship stories will take a further turn. In the overall championship, Wojciech Swirydowicz seems to be firmly in control. Can he make it a formality and perhaps even wrap it up at Suzuka? Meanwhile, in the Prime and also the AM classes, it's all to play for, and in the Teams Championship, Next Gen Pink seem to be in control, but control is sometimes just a myth in the Teams Championship, but can they make that myth a reality? We'll find out in what is not a week's time. Find out tomorrow as we continue the race in action from the circuit side. But until then, we have been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.